Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. I could feel the energy. I could feel the energy. This opposition is ready. But who says Barbados is asleep? Who says Bajans are asleep? Listen, from 619, Heathcliff says, good evening, everyone. Looking forward to meeting members of the opposition. Guess when? Tomorrow, God willing. Tomorrow, God willing. Hey, guys, listen. You may want to stand up in here. You let me feel strong this evening. I feel strong like a lion this evening, man. I come on, and people are on way before I get on here. I came home. I was in town at the police getting the permit, and I came home, cook, and rushed to sit down here. And when I come, people on here already. Rameem said, greeting members of the loyal opposition, the loyal patriotic opposition, as we prepare for tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow? Anybody knows what's happening tomorrow? The opposition meets. Listen, we have our outside parliament tomorrow. It's a street parliament we have. We need Barbados to know there is opposition in the house. Let me stand up. I standing up. Let them know there is opposition. We are here. We are it. And tomorrow we come out in our numbers, opposition. Tomorrow is a great day. We're coming out in our numbers. And she said, Rameem says, please be mindful to begin hydrating from this evening. We must enlighten others and faint not. Literally and figuratively. We're not going to faint. All right? So start drinking up your water, enough water. Even as you're home now, go and get a glass of water and start drinking up your water, because we will not be distracted, not even the heat. Dress accordingly, light clothing. I went to get the permit today, and the police says, tell everybody to drink enough water. Let me tell you that, listen, that we have a good police service that is supporting all the way, right? And Rameem says again, get this info far and wide, like the channel, man. So the algorithm puts the live in more frequent rotation in order to increase the chances of it being seen. Share with everyone you know. Please, we're asking you to share. And guess what, Rameem? We have something amazing that's happening next week, Sunday. Next week, Sunday, we're asking everybody to come out. We're going to be at Westburn Mall. And this is the intersection of Baxter's Road and Westbury Road. Westburn Mall. We've gotten permission to use that mall, and we're going to have the Marcia Week Show will be live in a physical space. We're going to go there. We'll have chairs, so you bring your chairs as well. And we're going to come down, and we're going to bring out the panel, and we're going to have a mic set up for you so you can ask questions and make your comments. And listen, we're the opposition, and the opposition is not just the panel. You are the opposition, so we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, not just from the people who are speaking, not just from the panel, but we want to hear from you, Barbados. We want to hear from you. Yeah? We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts, guys? When I come on, I say, good night, folks. You're an encouragement. You know what it is? To come to sit down here and then to see all of these encouraging words on the screen 45 minutes before I come on. Do you understand that we are owning this platform, and we recognize who we are, and we realize that it's not about Marcia Weeks, it's not about Caswell Franklin, it's not about Kimar, it's about us, the opposition. That's why Rameem says, come Lions, no more time to lag. Shake out your manes, roar. Jericho must come down. Oh Lord, let me tell you, I roar in tonight. I came on. I couldn't come on like a mouse tonight. You hear? I had to come on at a high tonight when I saw all of these comments. Y'all, listen, Natasha. Listen, Natasha. It is all love in this place. Yes. It's excitement. You all make me want to come on here. You make me listen. Nobody pays us for this, you hear? Because they soon start saying that we're being paid by people. Nobody's paying us. Nobody pay us. We come on here and we do this because of love of country. uh, and for me, I know that this is a call that God has called me to do. So when you come on and you encourage me, you're being God's hands, you're being God's voice, encouraging me, Natasha, every time you come on. And I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow. Awaiting this evening's goodies. Special shout out to all the trailblazers. If you are a trailblazer, let me see the thumbs up in the thumbs ups in the comment section. Let me see all the trailblazers. Come on, guys. Get in this tonight. Next week, Sunday night, you will have a microphone in front of you and you'll be able, the loyal opposition will be able to speak. You will be able to speak. You will be able to speak. Come next week, Sunday at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, we're going to be at Westburn Mall. We're going outside. Bring the family with you, you know. We're going outside. Don't come next week by yourself, right? We are going to go on. We're taking this opposition on the road. We are in street side parliament here. So I want you to get ready with your comments. Get ready with your questions. Get ready. Next week, Sunday, we're going to be on the road. On the road, Westburn Mall, the corner of Baxter's Road and Westbury Avenue. Yes? Good night, Kamar. Good night, Mr. Maximus. Mr. Maximus, you ready with the truck and the water? Listen. Oh, good night, you mighty patriots. Mr. Maximus, I think that's our truck driver. Is that you? You ready with the ice? We need enough ice tomorrow. Yes, listen, 124 now, Vihoy. 124 watching. So listen, 124, and I see Kimar is here early, bright and early. He's getting himself ready. I should let him get himself ready. Let me move him and let him get himself ready. Kimar, give me a thumbs up when you are ready. When you are ready. Yes, we're ready. Tracy Barrow, Wayne Dredd, the Costa Fields. Listen, this is becoming a family. I saw people today. I was in town today getting the permit, and I saw people and they were saying, hi, we're watching tonight, and they're all excited. And we are ready to go. And this is what Barbados is all about. We're taking back our country. Did you all hear? Oh, Barbara Lovell watching from Brooklyn. That's another thing. Tell me where you're watching from. Listen, Mark Fenity. Listen, we need to celebrate tonight. We want back our country. We want back the country. I hear we're going to talk about it tonight. I hear the PM that the PM giving a thumbs up. Listen, the PM giving a thumbs up about going to serve on the as General Secretary of the UN. We want to give her a thumbs up and we say keep going. Let it go ahead. Because I'm telling you, Barbados is having a brain drain. There's a brain drain in Barbados, and who is leading it? The PM is leading it. The PM is abdicating her job and leaving us here after messing up the country, mashing up the country. She's leaving. No wonder the young people leaving. No wonder that we say thumbs up to the PM. Go ahead. Please go ahead. Anybody want to give the thumbs up to the PM? We say congratulations, PM. Go ahead and please and let our country, let somebody step up to really run the domestic affairs of this country. Let somebody else handle the domestic. Man, everybody in your house, give the PM a hand. Go ahead, PM. We can't wait. Go ahead. We give you a thumbs up too. Thumbs up to the PM of Barbados. Please get going. Keep going, PM. Yes, she want to mash up and buy back. Right, debt and deceit. Hey, Everton Horn from St. Philip. Yeah, I say, Mark, I say, let her go. Let her go. And let us come and celebrate tomorrow. Let's celebrate. We will be able to get our country back. Hey? Yes, 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 Mr. Stewart. Kimar, you ready? You ready? Huh? Kimar, ready? Mr. Stewart, you're here. Mr. Stewart, how you doing tonight? How you doing tonight?
Yeah, yeah, I am
I
good
can't
as always.
hear you. It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm going to remedy that. I know what the problem is. I'm going to remedy that. But Stuart, Kimar, keep talking to the people for me. I can't hear you. I need to go get my headphones. I got too excited. But the people can hear you. Can you hear Kimar? Who can hear Kimar? If you can hear Kimar, let me know that you can hear Kimar.
Yeah, I believe they
Yes,
can
opposition.
or
Yes,
should be.
opposition. Let me know that you can hear Kimar. If can you hear Kimar? Yes, they can hear you, Kimar. So go ahead, Kimar. I got too excited. I left my headphones. I'm going to go get it.
Yes, well, good night to everyone. Uh, I am happy as always to be on the show with you tonight. The march is tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. Uh, bring out whoever you can tomorrow. We're standing up for justice. We're standing up for your rights. We're standing up for your children. We're standing up for the future. Uh, So we just want to give thanks to all of the soldiers who are standing up on the battlefield. Marcia, Caswell Franklin, Lumumba, Winston Clark, Bonga Lakes, uh, Ferdinand Nichols, Veronica Evelyn, Heather Cole, uh, Margaret Breedy Hines. Just want to shout out everybody doing what they who are doing what they have to do to support the march. And I want to thank all of those persons who come out every Saturday to support the march. The opposition is growing well. The movement is growing. Barbadians are catching on, and we have to live up to the mandate that the people are giving us to continue representing them on the important and burning issues happening in Barbados. As Marcia said, we are seeing that the leader of the country might be headed to the UN. We discussed that on the show. We discussed that on the show so many times about uh, Barbados being used as a stepping stone uh, for persons to ascend to international office. And we are seeing persons openly lobbying for the Barbados Prime Minister to become the UN Secretary General, which means that we will have a new Prime Minister whenever the next general election is called, as she will now be headed on to the international scene, which means that the Barbados Labour Party will now be in a leadership crisis. And it is onus on the opposition to collect ourselves and bring ourselves together as a serious unit and take whatever measures are necessary to ensure that we don't get another 3011 Barbados. And in the event that we have a new leader of the Barbados Labour Party, whoever that person may be, we now have to start spreading the message to the people of Barbados that you are really and truly on your own. You're left on your own. Hence why we're seeing increases in homelessness. Hence why we're seeing decreasing tourism arrivals. Hence why, as I see you have brain drain, all of the young people are migrating and leaving Barbados for Canada, the US, for greener pastures because life is getting so hard in Barbados for everyone, even those persons who go to work every day that have nice blue collar jobs. They are crying out about the prices in the supermarkets. They are crying about the gas. They are crying out about the education system and what is teaching their children. They are crying out about taxation levels. They are crying out about everything that's happening around them in Barbados. And there seems to be no one in the current government responding to the cries of the people, as it seems the country has been left on autopilot to fend for itself as we have the revelation now that our country will be with what I say a new leader or a new leadership after it has been revealed that our prime minister may be headed to the head of the UN. But we knew it. She was on the committees. We saw the head of the IMF coming here, the head of the World Bank coming here. We saw the UN Secretary General coming here. And we saw a lot of these high level officials coming here all through the pandemic, officials from the World Health Organization. We saw all of the trips throughout Africa. We saw all trips to France, speaking on the Bridgestone Initiative, visits to all of the world leaders, and we saw a high level of PR and public relations surrounding the Prime Minister's international profile. So we knew all of this traveling and this networking was not for anything because we don't see where the country has tangibly benefited in totality from all of these trips. But what is done in the dark must be revealed to the light, and the light shows us now that all of these trips and the different networking was not necessarily to benefit Barbados, but because you see, we can't see the benefits, but we could see the emergence of our leader into the international arena at a very high level. So my disappointment lays where I'd have liked to see a more tangible legacy left on Barbados before the ending of the Mia Motley reign. It's touted, I mean, her leadership was touted as the best thing to touch Barbados, almost better than any other prime minister. Some would say it was touted to be that, but uh, I guess that's why God placed it in the hearts of us now to be the people's opposition and to take our government back from within the morass and crisis that it is in right now.
Yeah. As somebody said here, can you hear me? Are you hearing me, Kimar?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. As someone said here that they said only today when that news. I'm sorry, I'm just fixing my microphone here. It says Marcia only today when that news came. I want to read the comment, and it is the computer is slowing up. Only today, when that news came on the radio, people in town said she shouldn't come back. It run to mind who are going to turn around this downward slide of the country. Last election, she said, was her last. So I think people know. Don't tell her don't come back, because I mean she's just leaving a trail of destruction behind her. As I said earlier, that there is such a brain drain. I remember since last year before, so many of our young people that I teach, they're leaving Barbados, they're going to Canada. And here it is when our prime minister should be saying to people, stay here and fight. Not her, not her, not her. She is part of this brain drain. She is an absentee prime minister. And it's time, and I believe Barbadians are waking up and realizing what is happening, and we are going to be left here in the dust. We are going to be left in the dust. I see General has just come on, but I know he had a very busy today. Today he's going to join us very soon. This is Mr. Franklin. He's right there. Don't worry, he's coming on. But Kimar, when I think about all that she has done to this country, right? And now putting a thumbs up. But I want every Bajans who believe that want, let's join her with the thumbs up and say, please going, please keep going. Every Bajan put a thumbs up. Put back the thumbs up. They said she put a thumbs up that about leaving. About we want you to go, madam. Go, please. Please go. Yeah, please go. And you know what? She has done probably more, way more for the international community, in her speeches and etc. You know that she's done outside of Barbados than she's done inside of Barbados, and we want those in the international community who are listening to understand this, that the average Barbadian life has not improved since Mia Mottley has been Prime Minister of Barbados. In fact, it's a fact that there are more homeless people. I spoke to somebody today who feeds the homeless, and he was saying to me that what they're seeing, they are seeing entire families, Kimar, lining up for food in Bridgetown. That doesn't happen in Barbados. Entire people not shame anymore to come out for food. This is a country that she has left behind. This is a legacy of hungry people, a legacy of landless people, a legacy of homeless people. Almost 60% illiterate. That is what we're seeing in our schools in Barbados. That's the legacy that she's leaving behind. And so we say, go, madam, go, please go, please go, please go. Huh? Please go, please go, please go. You know, Kimar, someone says here that they're wondering if our taxpayers money has financed her campaign, because obviously she has been on a campaign. What are your thoughts about that, Kimar? I mean, we don't have the facts, but I'm wondering. I have to wonder, yeah.
She was appointed to many different committees, committees on the executive board of the World Bank, committees on the IMF board level, CDB. So she's been appointed to high level jobs around the international financial system. So this movement that you see here is bigger than Barbados. This has very little to do with Barbados, you know. Barbados just factors in because she's the prime minister of the country. So through being prime minister of the country, she again signing on to the IMF program. I must say that I attended the lecture this week that was held by Chris Sinclair at the university. He's the alternate director for the World Bank Group for Canada, Ireland, and the wider Caribbean. And he gave his lecture, and a lot of what he said is in line with the government's plan for this a climate resilient country and a climate resilient region. Right? And part of this climate program, even at that level, our prime minister, as I say, she's now become the climate champion. So these organizations, that's part of the reason why they've been begging for funds to campaign and push the climate agenda. So a lot of that money you see being borrowed, even through the IMF Resilience and Sustainability Fund, a lot of that money is put aside for campaigning, and part of the Mr. St. Clair's lecture, he spoke about something called advocacy. So when you create a deal or you go after a deal like the climate deals, there's always a clause for advocacy, which means that you budget financially when you ask these international periods, you budget for funds to do advocacy, to raise awareness. So I don't necessarily know um, if and how much local taxpayers' money was used. Uh, it was used somewhat, uh, but at that level, at the level of these climate agendas, World Bank, UN, a lot of these trips, like they said, and a lot of this advocacy is financed uh, in these climate agenda deals that Barbados has signed on to through the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Mm. You know, as you're speaking, this came to me in the anthem that says, "We loyal sons and daughters." Isn't that a line of the anthem? That just keep coming in my heart. We loyal sons and daughters do hereby make it known. And what we are, the loyal. You see, loyal people, when you're loyal, you don't get up and run. You don't run. You don't run from your people. Huh? This is a level of disloyalty, but we loyal sons and daughters do hereby make it known to this Prime Minister Mia Martley. You could go tomorrow. We will stay and fix our country. In fact, you're a hindrance to the fixing of this country because you're not here. You're not here. Huh? We loyal sons and daughters of this land, this Barbados land. Huh? You're going to tell me all these months we don't have a prime minister. We saw it because we'll talk about this absentee prime minister. We are the country in the Caribbean that our prime minister travels more outside of the region and into Europe and than anybody else. The other day she was in France, but we said to Mia Motley, you could go to France.
Marcia, there's something that I wanted to make the audience aware of in terms of CARICOM and the head of CARICOM. You see, Barbados has become uh, the de facto head of
Yes,
what CARICOM is, right?
I saw that. I saw that.
And our Prime Minister, even during time with the jobs, Barbados got jobs to then distribute through to other countries or whatever, through whatever arrangements they said they put in place. And again, Mr. Sinclair's position on the World Bank Executive Group is he's the alternate director for the entire Caribbean region, which means that he negotiates for all of these countries together collectively under one umbrella, and Canada as well. Right? So this new merger at that international level has a middle territory, which is the use of CARICOM, and further integrating the Caribbean community uh, into one. And there's evidence of that to the last election where a lot of persons were wondering where we got votes from. But a lot of votes came out to the uh, a lot of votes came out to the a lot of votes came out to the non-national community. Uh,
Yes, go ahead. We're home, so I understand. Go ahead. I think go ahead. Yeah.
right, sorry. All right, so a lot of those votes came out to the non-national with the Caribbean community. So a lot of persons who were Guyanese, St. Lucians, and Vixies voted in the last election, and and in the 2018 election, if you could remember, a UE professor would have sued the government for his right to vote at that time, and the government came in and passed what we call the Caribbean Community uh, Amendment Act, saying that they were trying to target the movement of skilled nationals. So you keep hearing the Prime Minister speaking about manage migration, manage migration, manage migration. If you look at the electoral numbers, the government knows that it's a hard sell to convince the back in office. So what the government is seeking to do is to have this managed migration, carry come nationals into the electoral base of the country, and to import some persons internationally as well, who they would have, I can say, brainwashed with their propaganda already. So persons coming to Barbados would have been attracted to Mia Motley as the shining star, the global leader, and to some extent, honestly, it is working because most of the persons I do business with internationally, they love the Prime Minister. I mean, love the Prime Minister. And they all want to be associated with her some way, somehow. And they speak very highly of her all through. I attended the launch of the Afro at Zim Bank. I mean, and you have people lining up all over the world as ready to do business with Mia Motley. So part of that is to encourage a migration of these new cultures, and this is a culture that influenced by her, not Barbados culture, but her. That when the next election comes or whatever, that will be the new voter base of the Barbados Labour Party. And hence why you're a bit seeing Barbados being sold out, a lot of the lands being sold out. A lot of that lands will be for persons who are coming here, who then be added to the voting base, who could
Mm.
then vote back in the government, and they will not have to rely upon local Barbadians that much to get them an electoral
Ah, I
victory.
see. I see. That's an important point you're making there. So all of this, there is a plan, a method to their madness, and this is where this opposition here tonight we can send we can turn the tide. The Barbadian public just rise up as Mr. Our first prime minister said to us, Errol Barrow, what kind of mirror image do we have of ourselves? Huh? Is this how we want to be treated? Is this how we want to be treated? I want name one thing that she has done inside of Barbados for Barbadians. Name it. When I travel, I have to be wondering what I can understand that, you know what, they are all excited about her. She's on the outside, they're excited about her because they see her more than we do. They have experienced her more than we experience her. And she's supposed to be the prime minister. Huh? Mr. Franklin, we went on a high this morning to this tonight. The people excited about the march tomorrow. And I wish tomorrow I have a march to say Mia Motley go Mia Motley. I wish I had a placard to say that. But good night, sir. How are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
then I just got home, so then Snow had to get her walk. Or not, you wouldn't hear the last of it. She'll be keeping us all the time. So I had to go and give her a quick little walk and come back. So that's okay. My was coming in so slowly. No, she's here very quiet. She got to walk. I was listening to you for a little bit because I was trying to eat as well. I have not done so for the whole day, and I listened, but I feel that you all are missing a point. It isn't that
Yes.
me as any great diplomat or any kind of thing. She's being used by the international community. She is like a clown. You know, everybody
Mm,
loves a clown, but
yes.
she is our clown, and she goes out there talking things that you don't understand, making speeches that don't make a lot of sense, and people say, "Oh, great speech." Just stop, reduce them to writing, and then read them. You will see that there are lots of nonsense. But the part that you are missing is that we have a great LGBTQ plus whatever else community all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and she is their standard bearer.
Yes.
So they're gonna push her, and she has been perverting our laws in Barbados with her nonsense. You remember the want to take God out of the Constitution, You remember that part? Don't
Yes,
forget it.
yes.
They want to take God out, and they want to put sexual orientation in the new constitution that we're talking about. They
Mm-hmm.
already put it in the Employment Prevention Discrimination Act. You can't discriminate against somebody because of sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also talk about domestic partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And in the welcome stamp legislation, they introduced into Barbados law this domestic partnership thing where people can come in with their domestic partners. A domestic partner is not a marriage, but a relationship
Mm-hmm.
between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because for unmarried people, it's called union other than a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can't get married in Barbados, you call it domestic partnership. So she has been the standard bearer, and she is appealing to that base. And it is a large base around the place. Where you go to find them now.
Yes.
And mind you, she has never come out and said, I'm LGBTQ, whatever, but she is pushing that agenda, trying to let people say, oh, Barbados is in for this thing, Barbados, and she will be there, little Barbie, a big Barbie, for them to, that little clown, for them to push as a standard bearer for them. And they're using her, and she doesn't smart enough. So when you talk about brain drain, her brain drained ever since. She, and her brain drain, she go along, nobody will miss her. Not that brain. And you say you wish her to go tomorrow, I wish you would go tonight. I wish you would go at 7:38 tonight. That's a minute from now. She has not added any value to this country.
None.
This country has done something for her. She has
Yes.
done anything for this country. The only thing that she has done for this country is to get us to try to pervert our morals. You remember when she was proposing condoms in prison?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell you want condoms in prison for? You think if somebody can rape somebody can say, hold on a minute, let me put on a condom? So, and according to the popular belief, prison is not pestered with that type of person. It is you got one or two, and the fellas will take advantage of it. But when he
Mm-hmm.
coming through at you, she is so dumb not to realize that. And one of her things was to have condoms in prison. That was a big thing
Mm-hmm.
for her. She is totally useless for Barbados. She and she has been pushing this nonsense and getting people to write columns about her. I see the first one was in Jamaica where people talk about how great she is and she should be the Prime Minister of the Caribbean, all kind of nonsense. She can't manage little Barbados. And you think she can manage something else? Woman has no ability. Name something that Mia Motley was successful at. And I will give it to the end of the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. I sat down and I tried to come up with one thing that she's been successful at. There are things that she started the relationship with, to strengthen relationships, with Africa. It wasn't even her idea. It wasn't her idea, but she went and she grabbed the idea, right? She grabbed that idea from John King, right? That's what she did. She took the whole idea, everything he was doing, and then they tried to get him out completely, to take away his job from him. And that she started that is a good thing, right? Having the bank and all of that, the African connections there, that's good, right? All of that's good. But we just see a little sprinkling of things, but she's not around to develop anything for her to go anywhere. It's not a sound bites, right? Oh, a lot of sound bites, a lot of, and that's what we've seen. Kimar, can you come up with anything that the prime minister that you say? Let's be honest. I think the attempt to connect us with Africa is a good one. Kimar drop out. Is that he has nothing? Kimar's screen went black. Continue, Mr. Franklin.
So I'm just telling Barbadians, don't be fooled by the Barbados Labour Party PR. Their propaganda. It's propaganda more so PR. So do not allow her to trick you. And then you're gonna say, oh, I saw somebody write something about Sandy could take over. Sandy take over what? Sandy couldn't run the folk out around her house. She's clueless. You know, that maybe the little boys in here want to catch a chicken to eat, you know, you just run it around the house till they get tired. She can't run the folk out around her house while let's run this country. Because whenever Mayor is aware, Mayor is always on her phone to Sandy. Always on. Sandy doesn't make a decision unless Mayor comes up is involved in it. So when she rushed up there and said, well, okay, we're going to fix this thing at the Bear Garden, that wasn't her decision. Because none of them can make a decision unless Mayor signs off on it, you know. Mayor is the cabinet. And because she is so distracted, they do foolishness all the time. So please, don't allow
Yes.
the propaganda they have.
Somebody
So,
says her legacy is in making Barbados a republic. Yes. Okay, so we give that to her.
no,
Although,
no, not giving her that at all. Barbados, for all intents and purposes, was a republic from the day when Barrow got independence. Because the only reason that the technical definition of a republic is that you have a president and not a monarch. Well, we had a monarch, but it is a country, but that is run by the people for the people. But you know the saying. So Barbados had all of that. It's just that our monarch was the queen, and we chose the queen. Let's say Barrow chose the queen. England didn't impose the queen on us. Barrow chose her to use her. You see, we had a situation in Barbados back in the 1960s, 60, 65, 66, where people were talking independence. But you must remember that Barbados was an agrarian society. Almost every other job was on the plantation. And the plantation was owned by white people. Those are the people who pay the taxes. And those are the people who own the merchant businesses in Bridgetown. Barrow could not afford to alienate them. And he decided to appease them that we will hold on to Queen Elizabeth as our queen. So give the illusion that we say we still tied to Britain and we still got Elizabeth as our queen, because the white people were leaving Barbados in droves. They were leaving and going to Australia and New Zealand because they didn't want to be governed by a black government. So Barrow tricked them and gave them the illusion of we still tied to the British. We were tied to the British in 1966. And what the only thing she did was try to eliminate the name of Barrow from everything in Barbados. I don't understand why she's so ungrateful. Because when Thomas got rid of her father from the Barbados Labour Party, he went over to Barrow crying, and Barrow gave a job as Consul General in Europe because he was the MP for the city, you know. Her father was the MP for the city, and he resigned. I will give you that story another time when you're not on the air, Marcia. But he resigned, and Barrow took him and gave him a little job to save face inside in New York. So Barrow rescued her father, and she, as a little girl, was there with the Barbados, was with the Democratic Party all along. But they cannot forgive our Barrow for getting rid of the old Molly, the Ernest Dayton Molly, was the mayor of Bridgetown. He was the guy who took the aid money and used it to entice women into his bed. That is his legacy. He has a lot of children in the city. you know, unclaimed. I know you understand they want to build a memorial park to him. They went to the Harrison College and they wanted to take a piece of Harrison College land, the Ministry of Agriculture seed store, and a piece of Queen's Park to make a memorial park for him. I don't know if that got scuttled and they can put him and he was squared up or what. I don't know. But they never forgive Barra because Barra says if he can't get Motley out of the city, he will get the city out of Motley. And by that, he abolished local government. Because we have local government too, you know, Marcia. We have local
Right.
government. But the guy who ran the city, her grandfather, was a thorn in Barra's side. And Barra said, "Drew, we can take you out." Barra got rid of local government in Barbados for one reason and one reason alone, to get rid of Ernest Knight and Motley. And they have never forgiven Barra for that. Don't care what Barra did for them after. That was their biggest problem with Barra. So no, Barra got independent on the 30th of November. You remember the year before we became Republic, when people were saying that she wanted to get rid of Barra and stuff. She said, no, we gonna have a different day, that kind of stuff. And then the following year she come back and put it on Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
This is they're not a legacy about this is nastiness. This behavior is intolerable because whether you like Barra or not, Barra did a lot for Barbados. And you shouldn't be going about systematically trying to wipe it off the pages of history of Barbados because of some family nonsense. And that is why you will have Independence Day and Republic Day on the same day. 10 years down the road, my grandchildren are not about Albarra, they're going to be talking about the Republic Day. That is what it is for. So I'm not going to celebrate as long as I live the Republic Day. It will always be Independence Day for me.
Well, they said according to her, according to her, they're going to revisit it. She says.
No.
It's been said that they're going to revisit it, so we don't know what is going to happen. But I tell you, Bajans, if these loyal sons and daughters going to sit down and let her ever come with that nonsense again, she should never even be able to form her mouth and open it out of her mouth to talk about no Barbados National Day or no Republic Day.
Look, trust me when I tell you, she said that to distract. And when you are not looking, she can go. You remember little Barbados big some nonsense?
Yeah.
And then they had this committee to say they're going to develop a slogan about how many people, 10, 15 people to come up with a slogan. They come up with it yet? What she does is to distract, take people away from criticism and say, oh, well, she can do something about it. She ain't going to do a thing about it. Because she don't want to do a thing about it. Because her main goal in life is to avenge her grandfather's unceremonious booting out of office as mayor. That's what it's all about. And the thing is, he should be in jail. His bones should be interred at Glenderry Forest. Well, make a monument to him. Well, nobody fool you. And you see, what happens in this country, all of a sudden people sanitize the history and make it sound. Let me get an example. This has nothing to do with me, you know. You know what Copper came about? They're going to say, oh, when the slaves thing had nothing to do with that. A Grenadian man called Mary Shaw was given a contract by the BTA, the Barbados Tourism. No, it was the board, it was the tourist board then, not authority, to come up with a gimmick, some marketing to get tourists to come to Barbados during the off period. And he came up with this crop over thing. And they said then after it was a bit successful that it will not be sustainable if you don't get the locals involved. And that's what crop over started. But we will hear people talking about when slave days not. It had nothing to do with slaves. It started in 1974. It was wrong. But you would not believe that, and the little children, even teachers.
Right.
Then
So,
my
so,
short,
so
the
you're
thing is,
saying it's the same way that's going to happen with our history. They're going to try to sanitize it. They're going to begin to present a narrative, with their PR team that they have. She has a strong PR team. So by the time she's finished, she would like to erase Barrow completely out of the picture.
but she will have to erase me and a few more people, because when Marshall died, I was the only person in Barbados that remembered him, and they wrote an article about it. And then there are people come and say, "Oh yes, they remember this tall bony fella on the mobile that used to go about organizing these things." Because he used to ride that little motorcycle. It looked like a bicycle with an engine,
Mm-hmm.
and used to pedal it sometimes when they couldn't get the hill. Broad rim hat and Marshall gray beard, and he was out there pushing this crop over thing. But they could not now celebrate him for our national day, because he was Grenadian. So they don't want to say a Grenadian responsible for our culture. So they wipe him out of the history too. So that is what will happen with Barra. They're going to wipe him out. Because right now, Barra died in 87. You know how many children born since 87? I don't know about Barra. All you ask them about Barra, they say, father of independence. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Who had relationships with to get Barbados? He ain't a father of anything. But that sounds good, because George Washington was the father of United States independence, all kind of things. So we come up with SM United States nonsense. That's all they know about him now. They don't teach anything about him in our schools.
Yeah.
I know more about, they teach more about Columbus than Barrow.
Barrow. I was telling you about the movie that we did on Barrow, and I was just amazed by all the kind of man that he was and the kind of leader that he was. And you would never have found Mr. Barrow spending so much time outside of Barbados. In fact, you would have you heard the piece that I read last night, where he's encouraging Barbados not to leave Barbados, but to work here and to develop this country. But not this prime minister. She basically stepped on Barbados and used it to promote herself. And I agree with you that the LGBTQ plus community, I agree with you, Mr. Caswell, that they are the ones that are giving her a platform because they believe that she is their voice. And that so she's being, as you said, they're using her and she using them in order to get where she wants to go. So her mindset on a particular thing, her sight set, and this community is pushing her, and she's stepping on us. And it would be interesting to know who pays for these trips, who pays for her trips to travel overseas, doing the opposite of what Barra would travel economy. This woman is traveling in a private jets. Huh? Private
I'll tell,
jets
I'll
is what
tell you
she's
something.
traveling in.
Under our system of government, or governance, if you feel like using the fancy word, the prime minister's salary, allowances, and those things should be made public. But we are not getting them made public, or if they were there, make them public. We have hidden so many things. I'll give an example now again. What she's doing, she's buying everybody everything she can. There is, in the House of Assembly, they have offices of the House. There's a speaker, chairman of committees, deputy speaker. In order to keep her people loyal and keep her close, she came up with some idea of having 3 more chairman of committees. The chairman of committees, the fellow that sits down in the House and says, and committee, clause 1. And somebody said, make them what clause 1 stand part. And he said, that's all he does.
Mm.
He gets an additional $3,000 more on his salary than that. So she has now created 3 more chairman of committees. You don't need them. I have not seen it in the official gazette yet, but I've seen one of them functioning so far. Tony Moore is one of them. So now she doesn't get a backbencher pay, so to speak, anymore. She is getting Joint Secretary pay and now Chairman of Committee's pay. So she is making sure she take care of her people who will sing her and say all kind of nice things about her. But she has more ambition than ability. And that is what if she gets the job United Nations, that is what will come forward in the end. Her ambition. That's going to be her undoing because
Yeah,
people say that she's bright. She is not.
yeah.
She has photographic memory.
Let me
And
see if
if you
Kimar is. So 1 second. Let me see. Kimar, good evening. Can you hear us? I heard him. That's what he's having a tough time with his Kimar. You might have to keep your camera off, and once we can hear your voice, we're happy.
right.
So you might yes. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
So she has a photographic memory. She can remember things. Don't ask her to explain it. You will see every time some person asks her a follow-up question, she attacks them at these press conferences because she can say something, but she can't explain it. So she then resorts to attacking the person who asks the next question. She has no ability. Don't nobody fool you. And they would be glad if she goes to United Nations and then the people find out that. But at least we be rid of her.
Well, for me, whether they find out about her or not, I'll be glad when she's gone. I'll be glad, Mr. Franklin, because at least our country could get a chance and get a proper leader. I mean, when you saw those numbers with tourism that we put up the other night, Barbados with such such beautiful beaches and all of that, the other countries, Caribbean countries, gone way ahead of Barbados now, huh? Way ahead of Barbados, and they're gonna blame it on the pandemic. Like the pandemic wasn't in Grenada, and it wasn't in Antigua, and it wasn't in Jamaica as well. Huh? Look at what has happened.
We had our own pandemic. well, in this case, epidemic. Called the Barbados government.
Yeah, Marcel wants this coming.
Yes, go
Here,
ahead.
if you don't mind. I don't know if you saw the front of Barbados today, about 2 days ago, when the Prime Minister was on there speaking about a debt for nature swap to raise
Yes.
to fix this, of course, sewage plant. Right? No, that's a very serious thing. I think people need to understand how serious of a statement that is, that they can now be coming to us after all of this time to ask us about, or to tell us about sewage. The sewage should have been fixed from the time they came. They said that the sewage was fixed. In fact, in the bird plan, they would have rolled out. And I have this in my book as well. In the bird plan, they would have rolled out $131 million in capital expenditure to fix the South Coast and the Bridgetown sewage plants. And they immediately roll out.
Yeah, he dropped it again, Marcia.
Yes, he's dropping out again. Guys, we want you to, Kimar, we want to hear. That sounds very exciting what Kimar is speaking of. And as Mr. Maximus is saying, yes, they said it was fixed. So we want to know what it is they're talking about now. Folks, tomorrow, we need you to come out. He's back on now. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kimar.
He's frozen now.
It's frozen. Kimar, try taking off your camera completely. We want to hear what you have to say. Try just cutting off your camera and go with your sound, because I think what you're saying is so important. Listen, I don't doubt them messing with this young man's Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Kimar. Turn on your microphone now. Guys, in the meantime, remember the march. It's tomorrow. You need to come out now. The numbers, more than you can. If you're listening and you've never been on the march, you have to come out tomorrow. This is the march. This is the march that you've got to be on. This is March number 5. come out,
Yeah,
bring out
Martin.
people. Yes, go ahead, Kimar. We got him back.
Good.
We got you back.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So as I was saying, the government rolled out $131 million in the birth plan, and you could listen to it in the budget speech. This mini budget that me rolled out. So they spent 131 million. Then they're collecting 80 million in garbage and sewage tax. So that's billions. Right? So where are all those billions of dollars gone since the sewage tax was in place? And why you, the general manager of Water Authority, could be saying he definitively sewage fund to tackle it to do what he feel like doing with it. It's the same general manager that the firing, by the way, in the new legislation. But they put aside money to fix the sewage. They were even given a grant to fix the sewage, right? So this thing called a debt for nature swap. Sometimes, if we are not careful, we will fall for some of the uh, pig wrapped in bags or pig in bags or whatever, however they put it, because they are saying that we are going to do this debt for nature swap to raise funds to do this, of course. So they're saying that an international organization would come and buy at least $300 million worth of Barbados' debt, right? They would buy that debt off the international organization that we borrow, which is the IMF or the IADB, whichever card they didn't say. But let's just say it's the IADB. So this international organization is going to buy $300 million worth of Barbados' debt from the IDB, right? So the government of Barbados will now owe the international organization as opposed to owing the IDB. And the trade-off for that, according to the Prime Minister, is that when the exchange is made, that they would offer us a better interest rate on the deal as opposed to the IDB. The trickery in that is that the Prime Minister has said constantly that all of the loans they borrowed were 1% loans. Right? All were 1% loans, and we went through the restructuring and they shaved down all of the interest payments on all of Barbados' debts. They said it, they did it, it was in that restructuring. Right? So how much can you really save if you borrow at 1% and the international organization coming in, buying off that debt off you? How much you can earn? 0.05? So it ain't a trade-off. It just sounds fancy. It just sounds like something catchy, but it's no benefit to the country for doing this. What this does is to give the government what they call fiscal space, that will now free up $300 million worth of revenues that would have gone to the ADB. It now frees them up that money to go and spend it or splurge it on rebuilding a new South Coast sewage plant. And we know with these type of capital works projects, as we can see, $131 million gone on the drain. Boof. Sewage tax can't account for it. Boof. That's billions of dollars. So we could pay for all of these repairs to the South Coast sewage plant. Oh, the sewage tax, because that is what the sewage tax was for, to fix the sewage. Right? But so much corruption is happening with that sewage tax. And that is why they moved it away from the consolidated fund, so that we could not know how much money they're making in it. But this is for this reason, so that they could come and do things like this. Right? And that is why they went to Parliament again and made those changes to the Barbados Water Authority Act to continue to use Water Authority as a slush fund to move money and take lands and lock off waterways and privatize water wells. Right? This is exactly the reason. This South Coast sewage plant, and if you read that article right there, the Prime Minister said that the Barbados Water Authority will continue to have or continue to oversee these new upgrades coming on this $300 million deal. So that is more money flowing through the hands of the Water Authority an entity that the Auditor General has proven, don't worry what Ryan Strong said, has proven that they have not submitted any financial statements anytime soon. So that's more money going into the dark, going into the hole.
Kimar, you just described money laundering. If you had done what you just described, they will lock up you for money laundering. But the government can do it. That's what they're laundering money, and they're not putting it where it should go. It is not going in the consolidated fund as required by law. So that's the classic definition of money laundering. I don't know if you agree with me, but that is money laundering.
Well, I was gonna call it that, but they like to put the lawyers on you, so
That is money laundering. What they are doing is tantamount to money laundering. The laws of Barbados require you to put taxes in the consolidated fund. When you raise taxes in their budget, the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act says you can only do so if the money goes in the consolidated fund. These things were done at a budget. They'd never put them in the consolidated fund. It is money laundering, it is misappropriating of government money. Whichever one you choose is wrong.
Yeah. But
Check,
I will say,
check the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act if you get a chance. If you don't have else, I'll with you.
but what they did, I think that was the hindrance. What you just explained was their hindrance. So that's why they changed the legislation to allow, it's not legally called a tax. It's called a levy, the garage and sewage contribution levy.
Tax, the access,
Right.
by whatever name called.
Right. But remember, the IMF changed up these terms and definition in the Public Financial Management Act, and they're calling it a levy. So the levy will not be regarded as a tax. So therefore, it's charged at the point of sale of the financial, or not the, or of the state-owned enterprise. So if you charge it at the level, like how they're charging it directly to the water authority, and that's why they had to pass changes to the Barbados Water Authority. And you said it on the show before, to allow the water authority to become a tax collection agency, because that's not what it's built for. BRA, the Revenue Authority, is the institution that's supposed to do that. But they gave those functions now over to the water authority, and they're funneling money through there, knowing full well that the institution do not produce financial statements, right? So I am saying that we need a financial audit on the Barbados Water Authority, and we need an audit on this South Coast sewage plant, because there's no way, after budgeting $131 million to fix this sewage plant, making $80 million a month, the least they made so far is $3.6 billion, and that's an understatement of that sewage tax. These are not my numbers, these were Clay Maskell's numbers. Right? He said the tax, but we can't verify it because the tax do not come in the fund, so therefore it don't be in the estimates, it don't be in the central bank report, it don't be in no IMF report, it don't be in no public document whatsoever. The only way we could have seen it is if we had those financial statements, and the water authority is not producing any financial statements.
Kimar, let me caution you. Do not listen to those people out there and fashion what you're saying based on what they're saying. No World Bank, no IMF, nobody can change the laws of Barbados. Now, I'm going to read for you a couple of definitions from the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act. This is the act that informs a budgetary proposal. Section 2 of the act is the definition section, and it says, for the purposes of this act, the expression budgetary proposal means any proposal made to the House of Assembly by or on behalf of the minister responsible for finance for the purpose of raising revenue to meet public expenditure. Then the other definition I'm going to read, so it comes in a budgetary proposal. When it comes to a budgetary proposal, you can do it under this act. But it says here, tax includes all assessments, charges, duties, fees, impositions, or other levies, however called, the proceeds of which are payable into the consolidated fund as part of the revenues of Barbados. So because they call it a levy, doesn't mean this is a tax. It is a tax. This act says it is a tax. You can call it whatever you like. It is a tax. A levy, tax includes cess, all those things. Once you raise it in the budget, it is a tax that must be paid in the consolidated fund. So when they take it and pay into the water authority, they broke the law. So don't let them fool you. Provisional collection of taxes that most people never heard about it. Because this is the act that informs the budget. If you're going to do a budget proposal, this is the act. Because ordinarily, if you're going to raise a tax, you're going to go before the House, put a bill through the House, and go through all the stages. Mind you, these people do it in one day now. Under normal circumstances, it takes a little while. But you want the money now. So this act gives you the right to raise the tax from the time the minister says it is effective. So like Barrow, I remember when the little boy listened to Barrow, he used to say from midnight to night, the tax on this can go up by 5 cents, $2 or whatever else. So when he said that, it becomes effective. But it is effective for 4 months. And then you must either pass legislation before that 4 months expire or pay back the money to people who paid it. These people break the law again. They break the Constitution again and say, oh, we're going to do a validation thing. The validation bill does not conform with the laws of Barbados because money is property. And you have, in order to do this, you have to compensate the person with money. So you can't take away my money and compensate me with something other than money.
Yeah.
So it is legally impossible.
But Caswell, right, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, right? But okay, I did a course at the IMF Academy previously called Public Financial Management, right? And part of this course, it shows you how there were new ways required for governments to report on financial statistics, right? And it included the changing of certain accounting practices, hence what you see in terms of the SOEs. And it also included the addition of definitions, like the same word levy, right? So in legislation, if you just gave me the definition, but that definition does not, and this whole break our politicians are, they will say, well, that does not specifically speak to a levy. The IMF understands that these definitions might not specifically speak to a levy and reclassify it as something else, right? So
no, once you raise any money in their budget, don't give what you call it. It is a tax that must go into the consolidated fund. Don't let anybody else fool you. Don't let anybody fool you with that. The IMF can go and tell you whatever they want to tell you at these training sessions. But what they can't do is to change the laws of Barbados, especially ones that have constitutional amendment requirements. They are, but this government, you must remember that they refuse to pay national insurance contributions for its workers because the MSA don't pay them. Oh, and by the way, Marcia, someone passed the office, nobody mentioned that, and they brought $100 for the racial fund and $100 for the March number 6.
Oh wow! And as you mentioned the march there, Kimar and Caswell, let me just make an announcement here that when I was making up the show, I made a mistake and said September 29th is the march. The march is September 30th, which is tomorrow. The march is tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow, and with all that is happening in Barbados, how can you stay at home? You can't stay at home. You can't stay at home. It is Saturday, September 30th at 10 a.m. You can't stay at home. Hurricane, Carol Barker, Alex Mitchell, Sonia Perch, Jacqueline Allen, everybody, we've got to come out. This March, we need to make it bigger, bigger than ever. Everybody, you've got to spread the word. We have to be out there. This is our country. We have to take it back. We have to take back the country. We have to take back the country. Yes. So everybody come on out tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Look at what's on the screen is what it is. Don't pay attention to the notice that went out. I put September 29th by mistake. It's September 30th at 10 a.m. This is March number 5. And we're hearing that March number 6. People are already bringing money. Tomorrow you can bring some more money for that. Plus, Mr. Franklin, next week Sunday, our show is going to be on the road. The opposition speaks. Will be on the road. This opposition will be on the road. We're having a roadside parliament, right? Roadside parliament. The opposition will have next week Sunday, 5 o'clock. And Kimar, give us the location. It is the Westburn Mall, right? Kimar, can you describe where that is?
Yeah, we be at the top of Baxter's Road, Westburn Plaza, the mall, Blue Mall, right in the corner of Westbury and Baxter's Road, opposite Pizza Man Dog. We'll be right there next Sunday having roadside parliament.
Yeah. So that is it on a Sunday. I know some of you can't make it out on Saturdays, but on the Sunday, listen, bring everybody. It's going to be 5 o'clock in the evening, right? 5 o'clock. And we're going to go right up until about 9 o'clock. You know, my vision of it is to have a microphone there as well. You want to hear from the panel, but I also want to hear from you. You know, what's on your mind, you know, and to think, well, we're still tweaking that idea. But let me hear your thoughts on that, and make sure you don't leave the panel there by themselves. You know, the panel gonna be there, right? Yeah, the roadside parliament. Somebody said they like that, Mr. Franklin, the roadside parliament.
Mm.
Right, the roadside parliament. So come, so we, you know, all of that costs money. It costs money to do that all because, you know, we're hoping that we can stream it. But those of you in Barbados, man, make sure you come down. We want to see you face to face. Come down, right? Yes, the roadside parliament. That's next week Sunday at 5 o'clock. Next week Sunday at 5 o'clock. So I think I broke your thought there, Mr. Franklin, or is it Kimar? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, right. So we were saying previously about the Barbados Water Authority. We need to focus on that institution. We need to continue to pay the right attention to that institution. This is why I did the video and I got chastised by the Prime Minister for speaking about the Barbados Water Authority. And we're clearly seeing why. Look at how many things are happening through the Barbados Water Authority. Just look, all of the evidence is right there for everybody to see. So when you hear that it has been privatized, then she will come out and say that she never said she never said no, or she never ruled it out. But this is the direction that they're going. So they fired the general manager, as I said, abolished his old post to create 2 new posts, the chief executive officer and the chief operations officer, right? Setting it up to become eventually a statutory board to privatize it. Right? So all of these, and we need to be particularly cautious with these debt for nature swaps, because these I don't know if to call them charities, but these international philanthropic organizations that are buying up Barbados' debt. We need to know who they are. Is it Bill Gates buying up all of the debt? We don't know, right? So in this particular debt for nature swap, and if to explain what debt for nature swap is to the audience, is when some type of billionaire, some rich billionaire who's running his philanthropy idea to these organizations will come in and buy up Barbados's debt, right? Buy it up and give the government what the government calls physical space or to free up revenues. So in this particular deal, it would give the government access to $300 million in freed up revenues.
Yep.
However, Barbados is now indebted to that billionaire and that particular institution, not the IMF or not the ADB anymore. So we need to know who are these people, individual people, and that's what we need to be concerned. Small companies like this buying off large chunks of Barbados' debt on loans that were supposed to be 1% loans, right? Remember Kevin Greenidge, Marsh Caddo, Ryan Strong, Clay Maskell, all of them, the whole team,
Lisa,
everybody was like,
Lisa Cummings, don't forget her.
yeah, everybody was like 1% loans, 1% loans, 1% loans. So you try to tell me that you smartly debt restructuring 1% loans? Because that's what that is, you know. Oh, this is
What
called debt concept. Sorry, go
what
ahead.
I didn't tell the people of this country is that and most contract is fine print. And the government of this country did not read the fine print. The fine print in this case was that the loans are attached to the LIBOR rate in England. And each time that rate goes up, your interest rate go up. So far now it is 400. Those interest rates go up by 400% so far. But
Yeah,
they don't
but
really
remember that Barbados was not heavily indebted to the international world before 2018. This newfound debt that Barbados is in, this foreign debt came through this administration, this government. We were only $1 billion in debt in terms of foreign money when the Democratic Party left. Mia Motley $3 billion in the first term, and then she borrowed an additional $1 billion through a new IMF program, bringing the total to $4 billion US dollars that she borrowed since she came in, right? And that's new debt, right?
it is new
So,
debt. We don't have, because you remember also, we don't pay back anything in Barbados dollars. We have to get foreign exchange. And what are the productive sectors that can generate this foreign exchange in Barbados right now? Sugar?
well, they're selling off the sugar industry,
You tell
but
me, because you
the,
don't know.
but the privatizing shit. But here's the thing: if they were setting up productive industries, great, but they're not. They're just selling off all the assets, selling them for cheap, putting the money there, then poof, the money gone, and they're gonna borrow again. And that don't make no sense. Why you leasing out the airport? Why you looking to lease out
But
the
no, I think only why you're leasing the airport, why you're leasing it for chump change. That's the
good?
question to ask.
hmm Why the African Exim Bank could be saying no that they're looking to invest $100 million in the Barbados port? So that means you're looking to lease that out too, right? Yes, the African Exim Bank has set aside $100 million for investment into the Bridgetown port, right? So I am saying we are seeing some, and as I said earlier, so many people are lining up to do investment into Barbados. And hence the reason for these changes to the Barbados Water Authority Act and the easing out and the hiding behind Santia to push Santia forward to become the target or the fall guy for this operation, because Santia is the minister for the Barbados Water Authority. And she's now the acting prime minister. So the prime minister jetted off out the country, having Santia as the minister for water resources. Now she's acting prime minister. She already has the ministry responsible for planning and development constituted in her office. So it shows you how she would have essentially consolidated all of these ministries to get total power over the system, to now say that they have the power and authority through the planning and development ministry to rule over 3,737 hectare acres of land that they now took out of the old zone 1 zoning policies to sell off to their friends. So that is what all of this is about. They also said in that bill that the government was moving back on wells and are trying to come to the end of wells, and they want to encourage all of Barbados to be connected to septic tanks. Right? He's setting up the septic tanks again, coming under the Barbados Water Authority. Again, right? Contracts now have to be issued to set up all the infrastructure and everything to bring average Barbadians who are not connected to any sewage but have sub wells. They are shutting down sub wells to tell you now that you have to connect your house to a sewage treatment plant, whose then the contract is going to be given to one of their friends. And that is the reason for all of these changes.
You
Well,
know, go ahead, Caswell.
I am saying if Barbadians don't open their eyes, you will be second-class citizens in this country. China and these LGBT people around the world will be first-class citizens in this place. They will own everything because you do not give money and say, bank can pay it back, you pay it back. You borrow money, there's some sort of security for that loan. What is the security that Barbados is giving to these people? Kimar, you gotta tell me, I don't know. What is the security for these loans? Nobody can give you $300 million and say, may you get a chance, you can pay me. That's happening among friends. These people are boyfriends.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from the Chinese side, there are clauses in every Chinese investment which says that there's no national asset that is off bounds if you default on your loan payments to the Chinese. So any asset at all, any national asset that a country has, either locally or internationally, once it's the asset of your country, the clause in the Chinese investment is that they could come in and take anything whatsoever. So when they say that the country lost the port, it may not be that the country offered up the port as collateral, but that clause which says that any national asset could be available for foreclosure, that allows the legislators to interpret anything they see, they take anything they want. So Barbados enters into those type of arrangements. We heard Lisa Cummings at times speaking about those arrangements in the Senate, and she accused the last tourism minister of signing one of those deals as it relates to the Sam Lodge. Right? And he came out and denied that and said that it was not accurate. And then we saw the clause which swore again, no national asset is off limits. On the IMF side and the World Bank side, what they promised the IMF is, well, the IMF said, well, if we lend you 500 million to get back my money, I don't necessarily want you airport, or I don't want it. But what you could do is, if you're spending $100 million on pensions, I want you to cut that by half and put say $50 million so that when loan payments to me become due, you got my money. If you're spending 500 million in the hospital, you're gonna need to cut that by 100 million. You put aside 100 million so that when loan payments become due, you got my money. When it comes time to repay investments on roads and you default on the deal, we can now come in and set up tolls on your roads so that we can recoup our money. Right? So this is how a country becomes infiltrated if we do not have the earning capacity to be able to repay these loans when they start to become due. And as Kevin Green said, we have to pay back $827 million to the IMF by 2027. Right?
And by that time she will be
827
gone.
million.
By that time she will be gone. She'll be long gone, right? She'll be gone from what? When is she supposed to be? If this thing goes with the UN, what date is it supposed to be? Isn't it 2026? It's 2026 or 27? I can't remember.
I have
The,
no
the
idea.
elections are 2026. The UN elections are 2026, and uh, the Barbados general elections, if you count 5 years from 2022, you will get 2027. So that might just be election year if we go all down the road.
Yeah.
No,
You
they
know,
got no, they got to
go
go
ahead.
all down the road. They have to go all down the road simply because they will not qualify for their pensions. Because remember, they had 3 years in the last parliament, and they need 5 now in order for
Hmm.
them to qualify. So they're going all the way down. Or some people ain't getting a pension, so they're going all the way down. So what will happen? They will install somebody, and people think Santia, but it is not automatic because the members of parliament, the majority of members of parliament who support one person, that person will be the prime minister. But you have to get, the president has to get from those people an assurance, okay, we are supporting Sandia. And Sandia got no friends in Barbados, their party cabinet. So if Mayor cannot control them if she steps out. You have to do like Sandyford and Richie Haynes. You know, Richie Haynes was Ben Barbados. Richie Haynes thought he was going prime minister, but he's there start trying to do CPR, and they took Sandyford to got Mouse and had him sworn in. And poor Richie found out, and that was the formation of the NDP.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know, Richie got vexed and left. So, but the people had to say, yes, we want her. Sandy, nobody wants Sandy.
Hmm. Well, I mean, she's for the people. She's the voice that they see. She's the one who, as you said, she's a fall guy. She comes up and clean up all the mess. Appeared to be that,
No,
and
no,
she's been put
they
out
cover
there.
for her too, you know. They cover up for her too. Because you remember this IADB computer thing?
Yeah.
The first one was done when she was minister.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't approve one project and then say when the next minister comes you can do another. You approve a program.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
nobody made any noise about it when the first one was done. The first one was done before last election, and with the last election, she was Minister of
She
Education.
also went to the yeah. She also
And you
went to the Netherlands secretly, secretly and privately joined crop over week when everybody was distracted. When people were distracted with the NAS too, she secretly went to the Netherlands to consult with the Dutch on water management. And then look what they came back with. Ideas to restrict and take away your rights to water and take up crown lands and signal that the state lands.
Well, crown and state is just the same thing because we no longer have a crown. So
Right.
they just the word crown to state. It's the
Mhm.
same land.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm concerned when they take up your land. When they take up Miss Ram land. When they take up the people in St. Lawrence Gap. That's what I'm concerned about because they got away with it, you know. And I warn the people of this country. I said, look,
Mhm.
because we might not like Miss Ram, you still gotta speak up against this, you know, because when if you do it to Miss Ram, you can do it to somebody else if they get away with that. And they got away with it because of Miss Ram. I know they're starting to do it with everybody else to get hands punched.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy,
Yeah,
as we're doing this,
yeah. They're taking
Kimon,
up the marina as well. St. Lawrence Gap.
but
Yeah.
let's just look at. I see Miss McLean is in the waiting room here in the green room, and she's coming in as well, Mr. Franklin. But I want to read a little bit of the national anthem. I don't have the voice to sing it, but I want us to. We're gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. And as I'm reading it, I want you to write in the comment section your favorite line of your national anthem, because this is a Barbados that we have to decide. We need to make a decision, people, that we're going to stand up and we're going to fight for our country. This is our land. This is a land, this is our land. Whether we were naturalized or we were born here, this is our land. And tomorrow is an opportunity to publicly show that, to display your love of country and your commitment to Barbados. So I want you to write in the comment section your favorite line of your national anthem, because we remember we are the opposition, and we are the opposition because we love our country. We are patriotic to our country. This is our land. In plenty and in time of need, when this fair land was young, our brave forefathers sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung, a pride that makes no wanton boast of what it has withstood, that binds our hearts from coast to coast, the pride of nationhood. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our names on a history's page with expectations great, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our fate. The Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. Upward and onward we shall go, inspired, exalting, free, and greater will our nation grow in strength and unity. Oh my goodness, that is just so powerful. A powerful anthem, very, very powerful anthem. And I'm hoping you are writing in the comment section your part of this anthem that is, that really this is the part that that connects with you. Huh?
Marcy, I'll tell you the part that hits me is that the anthem was prophetic. It says, "And greater will our nation grow in strength and unity."
Mm.
You know, trust me, it was prophetic. Unity is here now.
Yes, unity is here. Sonia Perch said the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. I don't know. Listen to me. I know I'm born in Jamaica, right? And we get so emotional about our anthem. We could hear our anthem and we could cry. And I read that and I get teary-eyed. I feel a little passion in my belly, Miss McLean. I'm feeling something in my belly and it's not gas. I'm feeling something in my belly and it's not gas, right? Folks, let's connect with this anthem. Let's connect with our country. Let's connect. Look at what's happening with Barbados. What is happening with our country? Miss McLean, good evening. How are you doing?
Hi, good evening. I'm doing all right. The heat
I get it.
is exhausting. And to my friend, Mr. Unity, as written. But Marcia, before I say it, I don't know that I can choose a line or so, because as I started to think of one, then I said, no, the Lord has been our people's guidance, strict guardians of our heritage. I think that when you say or read the words of the national anthem, you understand how powerful they are. And if you commit to those, or if you subscribe to what is said in those things, you really have a very powerful set of messages or words to live by. There's also a commitment that you ought to make, and some of us have made, to do right by Barbados. So I think to hear you read them just reminds me of the importance of the lyrics of our national anthem, and that they're just more than words to be sung, but something which really should guide how we live, what we consider important, and how we commit ourselves to use the expression I used just now, to do right by Barbados. It probably exemplifies a lot of what our forefathers, our ancestors, the people who made this nation would want, would have worked so hard for, and would want to see us continue. So
Yes. People are writing their favorite part of the anthem,
yeah,
and I think we need to rise up. We're going to be leaderless
firm
very, very
craftsmen
soon.
of our fate. Yeah,
Yes.
tells us we have it in our hands to control. We have the responsibility of guarding our heritage, our history, our patrimony, all the things that make us this unique little country. And as somebody said, all the lines, and that's the point I'm making. It's hard to separate, select one or two. I think all the lines taken together say so much.
Maxine, I want to interrupt you and ask you. There's one line that the Prime Minister wanted to take out. Remember that one?
Uh, I try to remember.
Because people said the woman break, and they keep laughing whenever I hear
I
that.
try to remember what it was. I know there was some controversy. Remind us.
She was saying that I know that the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years, but she's saying there's more than 300 years now, so being God change
Past 300 years could be a million.
Tell
It is
her
not
that.
the past. It's not
Tell
the
her
past
that.
300 years.
Tell
Go ahead,
her
sir.
that. Tell her that. I'm convinced of that. I knew that from primary school.
No, and this is why it is important, because as Marcia was reading, I remembered comments from people. I didn't remember that was one, because now you reminded me. But the buzzword, it didn't say the past 300. It said past 300 years could be 301 years,
It could be 3
3,000
million.
years, and as we go along, a million years from now, going backwards. So it is past. It says beyond that, long before that, you can go, but it isn't. It doesn't speak to the number 300 years only. So
But
it will always be relevant.
But that because she always liked to get in and talk without thinking. That's her. That's her strength. She talks without thinking.
Well,
and as a result, she
our
usually
weakness,
talk
that's
rubbish.
not a strength. That's a very serious weakness if that's the case. No, that's not a
But
strength.
that's what I have to give it a strength, call it a strength, because all the others are so weak that is her strength.
No, well, the ability to speak is great. On the other hand, sometimes I listen and I ask myself, in speaking, are you making decisions on the fly?
Content. If when she's speaking, she sounds flurry and good, but go to the content, and you see it is here. Look, if she starts a speech and she's talking about Japan, let's say she says, Japan makes a lot of cars, and next thing you know, she's talking about clutches. We don't have clutches in cars anymore. Never get back to Japan. Check her speeches; they don't make a lot of sense.
I say to people, content analysis is great. So that's an assignment. That's an assignment when you hear anybody speaking on a matter. Go and analyze, listen carefully, and follow the line of thought, the argument, the ability to complete issues, whatever. That's an important assignment for any speech, conversation, whatever.
Need to know what we say. I didn't hear from Kimar. Kimar, just before Miss McLean shares what's on her heart. Kimar, can you tell us what is your favorite line in the national anthem? We all been all mushy tonight and patriotic. Don't mind Caswell give us joke in the middle of all of that. But we love you. We love you, Caswell. Listen, Kimar, are you there?
Yeah, I am here. My favorite line is in plenty and in time of need. Right now, we are in a time of need, and as Caswell says, a prophetic thing where we, the opposition, are now filling that need. And the need is an opposition to represent the issues of the people. So, and when there is times of plenty, we were there.
Yeah.
And at the time of need, we're still here. And you said earlier that Barrow came and said not to leave Barbados, to stay and to develop this land. but that everybody's leaving brain drain, everybody's heading out. So while persons may be leaving for better economic opportunities, so I don't blame them because they're in search of greener pastures. Uh, we are staying here and fighting the fight. So that line inspires me to do what I am doing right now.
Yes, yes.
I'll tell you something. See, this government is forcing young, talented people to leave this country. I can give you an example. Doctors. We spend about 7 years to grade a little doctor, and they get a job in the Ministry of Public Service, and they assign them to polyclinics. These doctors, some process of nastiness, I call it nastiness in the public service. They then decide, well, look, they're going to call them something called locums. And they don't give them vacation. They don't get them sick leave. So, and if you don't come to work a day, you don't get paid. You don't get paid for it. So if you are a talented young doctor and you find that your country is treating you this way, unless you got some real strong commitment to Barbados, where you go stop here to take care of your mother or your father or your grandmother or something, so you're going to leave. And that is what is happening. That is part of the brain drain. You imagine, mind you, there is nothing called locum in our laws in Barbados, right? That is something that they got from England. A locum is a doctor who goes and works for a doctor in his clinic if the doctor's on sick leave for a couple of days or if he's on vacation. Now we have people working for 5 years for the government of Barbados, and they call them locums. I will not pay them any vacation pay. They won't pay them for a day's sick leave. And I'll tell you something. These doctors go and treat a lot of sick people and then get sick too as a result of some of them. And they can't get a day's sick leave. Will you stay here? And I've been fighting on behalf of those junior doctors for the longest time. And nobody will take me on because the problem, it starts with the senior administrative people in the public service. A lot of them come into the public service to start as clerks and they inch their way up to senior clerk, then they become executive officer, never do a little thing, they might become an admin officer. And that journey takes about 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And you have a 25-year-old person now coming into work, and you have to prepare their salaries and do their contract. But that and that person is now making more money than you. That 25-year-old child, I call them children because I'm old. But is 25-year-old man or woman is making more money than a person who has been working for 25 years and probably even got 25-year-old children. And the jealousy comes there. And they convince the government to do this thing to the young people. And the government ain't had the sense or the commitment to the young people in Barbados. They say, no, that's wrong. Because they are saving money. Because most doctors opt for a contract.
Right.
So they can get the 20% gratuity at the end of every year. These youngsters don't get a contract. They don't get vacation. They don't get sick leave. Government is treating the doctors just like how they treat the young lady who fell in the well.
My God.
They have no regard for the youth of this country. They're just abusing them. So, they can leave.
That's sad, and it makes me so sad. I was talking to Miss McLean about that. Went to the beach the other day when the electricity went off, and we went, just to relax a little bit. I had a show in the evening. We said, let's go relax. And there was a young man there in the water, and Dave and I were talking to him, and he was just telling us about how many of his friends are leaving Barbados, and I was so sad about it. But hearing today of the possibility of this particular Barbadian leaving Barbados and working for the UN, hopefully they just leave, that one doesn't make me sad. I think that's a necessary brain drain that needs to happen. I don't mind that one. So that can happen. But Mr. McLean, I will ask you to comment on that. But listen, Nigel Newton here has a question. You see the question on the screen? It says, should political leaders be permitted to make life-changing national decisions without the express consent and agreement of citizens? What are your thoughts on that? And then you could just segue right into what you came to share about.
I think the reality is that, well, let me say that there are some decisions, and he didn't give an example, but there's some decisions where I think the public should have some say or have a clear understanding that these are some of the issues that the government wants to address. And therefore, for example, if you're talking, you were mentioning elections, if there are major decisions that the government is intending to implement that will impact, that will have life-changing effects, those things should be spelled out up front so that people understand that, yes, by saying yes to you as a government, then we have bought into what you have highlighted to be some of those things. There's also a provision for referenda. So if you want to have a referendum, there's where you ask people to make a decision, those things are important. And outside of that, we probably need to find other mechanisms where critical issues like that come to the people before, because at the end of the day, as you said, it will have significant impacts on the lives and the well-being of persons. Now, I am you asked me what's on my mind, but as I was listening, so many things have come together, and I will try my best to pull a couple of those things together, because when I joined, you had an image of the Prime Minister Motley, addressing the United Nations. I recognize the background. Um, and it is interesting that in her period as Prime Minister, she has addressed, I think, probably maybe once, I recall, the former Foreign Minister, Dr. He's now the Minister of
Jerome Walker.
Jerome Walker, addressing the UN, because there's a tradition that typically the new prime minister, once he or she assume office, would do that, and maybe some special event. But I was wondering about that when I noticed that out of well, it's almost 5 years now, the prime minister would have been present at least 3 times. But I also noted the story that has been going around. Well, it is not new news. I've been hearing that, but it throws up a number of things to me. But let me say it first of all. I wish the prime minister well. There's
I
this
don't.
since or before the election of the current Secretary General Guterres, there was talk of the possibility, or the wish of many people to have a female Secretary General. And in recent years, well, I know that was the, as I said, one of the suggestions. When I was foreign minister, you heard that. But in recent times, we have heard the name of the prime minister on this side of the world. We've heard um, Alicia Barcena, who would have been a foreign minister. I think she was from Mexico, it was. And several other persons. In fact, we've even heard the name of the former prime minister of New Zealand. What I find interesting, though, and I was trying to see if there was any, I was trying to find out if there was a sitting head of government who found himself or herself in contention for this position. The current Secretary General was a Prime Minister of Portugal, and later became involved in several positions at international, at the multilateral level, the United Nations, and so on. But my question is, and we talked about the situation of young people and the frustration of young people leaving because there seems to be nothing happening for them. So my question really and truly is, if the prime minister is in fact interested, and I will tell you the many things that I've seen, I mean, talking to people having been in that kind of arena, the international relations, foreign affairs, diplomacy kind of arena, I see several signs, but I will come back to that. But my question is, given the question I raised about a sitting prime minister or president, a head of state, a president, or a head of government, a prime minister, who is in on the job seeking that, and my question is, how do you manage the internal affairs of your country effectively while campaigning? And I said that, and I'll just read something here for you. I went online this evening when I thought of seeing that article, and I came across an article published in 2015, June 2015. It was by a Tony Fleming, and it was called 8 Steps to Becoming United Nations Secretary General. This guy, Tony Fleming, was a communications and nonprofit operations director, research and multilateral elections of some organization. And this is how the article began. This is why I read it. Non-stop campaigning, candidate appearances, states debating how to pick the nominees. Political nerds are drooling about the next 15 months. The incumbent is finishing up his second term, and citizens groups are already arguing. Now, that was in relation to Ban Ki-moon, I believe. But what I found was nonstop campaigning. The reality is, for these positions, and the Secretary General of the United Nations is what I would call one of the biggest pick, so to speak. You do not sit in your office as prime minister of a country, absorbed in the affairs of that country, and then have your minions or whoever out there, campaigning on your behalf. Some of that will happen, but it is expected that the candidate himself or herself would appear. I remember when the current head of the World Health Organization was seeking election to that post. He came to Barbados, and he came around the region, to meet with the prime minister, to meet with me as foreign minister, to meet with the minister of health, etc. And that was replicated country to country. Now, the United Nations has about 193 country members or so. And at some point, this process is pretty time consuming in terms of the election campaign. It might have started if the prime minister is, in fact, some article referred to her being asked about her interest, and she gave a thumbs up. I think that's what the article said. I don't know what that means. We can interpret however. So my whole question is, if and in fact you are campaigning, because recognize when you ask the question, Marcia, about the time for the next election, it falls, let me put it this way. Caswell said 3 years. I was thinking it was 3.5, so I may be wrong. But if it is 3.5 years, at the point in which the last...
It's 3.5.
3.5 years. So I'm gonna use the exact numbers because people might have worked these things out very clinically. So if it is 3.5 years, and bearing in mind the rules about pensions, as Caswell pointed out, which is 2 terms or a minimum of 8 years, I do not believe that there is any appetite in this country for a changing of those rules to bring the number down. So at the minimum, the elections in Barbados are likely to happen between 4.5 years to the full 5-year term. Now, if you can resign, we can have a by-election or whatever the case may be. Resigning may be risky, because if you resign and you're not chosen, then whatever. But I know that the prime minister has indicated to the public that this is going to be her last term. It would make sense if, in fact, her plan is to pursue this. Now, I want to share a little bit about how this thing works, because it sounds good. I mean, and I read the articles, but that process is not. It's a lot of horse trading. I label it as that goes on.
But in this case, jackass trading.
As well. It is a lot of that goes on. Basically, the Secretary General, the process is not, it is not very open. It is not done very publicly, at least when it gets to the UN. The decision is made by the Security Council. Now, the Security Council, and I saw that I don't just shortchange people in terms of defining it. The Security Council, as one of the main organs of the United Nations, you have the General Assembly, which, well, let me run through them so you understand. The General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, where they call ECOSOC, the Secretariat, and the International Court of Justice. And there's something, a sixth organ, which is called the Trusteeship Council, but that isn't, it was suspended at some point. But the General Assembly basically is the primary, as I said, deliberative and policy-making element arm of our unit of the United Nations. And this is where all the member states are represented. The General Council meets every year and in September, and this is where you see heads of state and heads of government addressing. So that's where you have the General Council, General Assembly, debates taking place. And they also make decisions on things like security, peace, economic and social developments, etc. So that's where you would hear a decision taken by the UN General Assembly to launch a decade of people of African descent, or whatever the case may be, the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and all of these things. And then you have the Security Council. Now, the Security Council has primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security, and it is made up of 50 members. Now, of course, remember, you have 193 members of the General Assembly, but the Security Council, which is like a pinnacle body, is made up of 15 members. 5 of them are permanent. So they will sit on that council year after year after year. And those 5 countries are China, Russia, France, the UK, and the US. And each of those member states on those 5 permanent seats on the Security Council have a veto vote. So, for example, if a matter goes before the Security Council and Russia says no, it cannot go. If the China says no, it cannot go. If the US says no, it cannot go. Then they have 15 other members. The other 10 members, because it's 15 members. The other 10 are called non-permanent, and they are elected periodically to serve 2-year terms and so on. And in the context of CARICOM, we have had 3 members of CARICOM serve as members of the Security Council. As recently as 2019, St. Vincent and the Grenadines would have been elected. And then you had, I think in 2000, Jamaica would have been a member of the Security Council. And back in the 70s, 75, I believe, Guyana was a member. Now, I've identified those 2, and I'm not going to spend time going through the other things, but I'll use those 2 because those 2 are pivotal to the choice and the final decision of who becomes Secretary General. As I said, there's no open discussion and so on, but countries would lobby, they will recommend, they will write to the Security Council and say, we nominate or we recommend Prime Minister of Barbados, or somebody in Central America, South America. They might write that country will write nominating their particular candidate, and it doesn't have to be a prime minister. Typically you tend to see other persons in that kind of position. So those suggestions go to the Security Council. They do not have any open discussions. They are private, they are informal, and then they will come up with a decision. However they do it, to say of, let's say 10, 15 of those countries put forward names, they will then take a name to the General Assembly. And they will either, if people have been able to successfully lobby and so on, they might just be chosen by acclamation, or there may be a secret ballot. So at the end of the day, the country who, the candidate, I'll say candidate because they're from a country, but it's a candidate. The candidate who is seeking that has to go there before their names even get, or even if they choose to put their names, they need to go out there and lobby all kinds of countries. And the question is, as I said, in this whole thing, there's a quid pro quo. What are you asking me? You're asking for my support. What are you going to give me in return? So, for example, you see when countries are bidding for other positions, and in this case, they will come and say, look, Sweden. I mean, if you look at the people, Sweden was one general secretary was from Sweden, another was from. We had Ghanaian some in more recent times. Kofi Annan. If for those of my age group, you might remember the name Utan. I think he was from Burma, now Myanmar. And so these countries will go and they will lobby, and of course they will commit themselves perhaps to certain policy positions on things. Now, in the context of Barbados and the Prime Minister going on the article that was out in the press, they have been speaking to her, championing certain causes. And therein also lies the crunch, because those things are important. Climate change is important. The perspective of small island developing states is important for us. But some of the positions taken may not sit well with those members of the Security Council, because remember, before it can go anywhere, it has to get past those people. And so the question is, what are you promising these people should you get this position? And so it'd be interesting. So I think that there are a lot of people who are saying so, but there's much that goes into that. But for me, if Barbados were to happen, fine. My concern really and truly at the end of the day, as I said, when I look back, you see former SGs being retired from this farmer, that, but we have a sitting prime minister with their country to run, where we are having a lot of problems. Every ministry that you can think about, there's either a problem of a program started, stopped, had to go back and reset. I mean, there was a big promise of $100 um, to parents of primary school children, and it's only tonight that I heard on the CBC News the Minister of Education saying, "Oh, we have gotten it sorted out now. There were many things to happen, and they will start disbursing those funds." However, now a simple thing like that, and I say simple because so I'm just using this. Let me tie that to the discussion about the question is, if you are seeking an international position, especially as a sitting head of government, I believe that you should want to be seen by the developments, the programs, your successes domestically. In other words, as you talk about climate change, you would want to see Barbados as an exemplar, Barbados being a good example of all the things that we say we should be doing. If we say that as a small island developing state, you have managed this country, this society, and this economy very well, then you should be able to point to program, policy, X, Y, and Z, and how well it has been implemented. The problem is that on the ground, that when you look at a number of things, we have had decisions taken. Sometimes I wonder if the decisions were taken without consultation. I'll use the same $100 grant, right? If you know that you have the Ministry of Education, let me back up. If this is a proposal coming from the Ministry of Education or whoever it came from, if you know that you have to find $100 per, let's say there are 40,000 school children, right? In primary school, we have 40,000 primary school children in Barbados.
Yes.
Let's say we have 40,000, and then you multiply that by 100. You are looking for, that's about what? For
400,000.
no, that's $4 million. I think that's right, $4 million. Okay. In the normal scheme of things, $4 million is not a lot of money. However, when you look at the total budget for education or whatever, however, the budgetary process of government suggests that you either would have prepared, you would have budgeted for it, you thought about it earlier, and you would have made provision for it, or if you were introducing something that you did not budget for before you announce it, you should have scrutinized the budget and identified from where will I find this money, so that when you announce it, and even in terms of the funds, but the procedures. So my concern is we are hearing too much, this is what we're going to do, and then somebody's scratching the head trying to figure out how we're going to make it work, where we're going to find the money. And so when I look at simple things like that, which seem to befuddle and confuse and complicate things in a ministry or department, or people have to find ways, how many weeks after announcing it to put it in place, it makes me ask the question, how serious are we about efficiency, about transparency? And if we are failing on this level, what image does it project of you as somebody who is, in this case, if in fact the Prime Minister is offering herself, or will be offering herself, or will be convinced to offer herself, what kind of image are you projecting of success, of potential to head? Because the United Nations Secretary General is at the pinnacle of multilateral bodies in the world. That's that individual, heading what I would call the countries and the billions of people who make up the 193 member states of that UN body, UN family. So my concern really is, and I'll just wrap up, and then I can hear what the others think and what you think, and we can look at it further. What exactly is planned, or is the plan for any campaign should the Prime Minister be in fact considering being or is in a race? Because I will tell you this, these processes don't happen 2 or 3 weeks out. These things happen years before. So you would have, for example, somebody wants a seat on the same Security Council, they will come to you 4 years in advance and say, look, Barbados wants a seat. And then they go to the bilateral partners and they start negotiating. So this doesn't start tomorrow after the or after September, when this year's General Assembly ends. And so some persons, skeptics, have been saying to me, because you would be surprised how many people call me or sent me notes about this story that was circulated today, asking how things work. And as I said, and somebody even speculated that perhaps the frequent absences of the Prime Minister are in part of a campaign. So I don't know. I can only that person is speculating, and I suppose in all logic, if in fact you are interested, you would be using every opportunity. Somebody else pointed out to me this evening that perhaps there's already a structure in place to assist the Prime Minister in her campaigning efforts, if such a thing exists. And they drew reference to, and Caswell can help me here in terms of the numbers and positions, to what looks like a parallel set of persons. I mean, each Prime Minister traditionally has what they call a political staff, but that usually is like 2 or 3 or 4 people. But we seem to have a number of persons, there's a chief of protocol, which is but then the Prime Minister has a protocol person. You have the Government Information Service, but then there's another entity with multiple persons in there dealing with public relations, I presume. I don't know. So those are the kind of signs that somebody raised with me, and I told them I would have to revisit them. But in talking to the individual, I think I was convinced that perhaps, if nothing else, it seems to make some kind of sense. So just to pull that together, Marcia, I was intrigued well, it's not a new rumor out there, but I was intrigued at reading what is happening. Somebody suggested to me that the CNN story is probably part of a campaign
That's
that
what I thought as well. I
what
thought
you're
about
to
that.
do is to go to the international media and you get your stories out there. So I wait to see, but as I said, I would want to see how if that is the case, the prime minister will juggle her multiple responsibilities in the face of a cabinet that is large, that there are many hands, but on like what she had promised, making like where is like too many cooks seem to be spoiling the broth.
Very interesting. Go ahead,
I think
Mr.
that was
Franklin.
a good explanation of what is going on in this country. You referred to the prime minister coming out and making these, my term now, policy on the trot. She opens her mouth and she's in front of microphone and people start talking and she wants to distract. She comes up with a policy. That happened with the education. Like nobody in the Ministry of Education knew about it prior to the prime minister saying so. At least that's what they tell me. Just like they told me, and this is the cabinet minister who told me this, that nobody in the cabinet knew that Rihanna was going to be made a national hero until she shouted out when Rihanna came out there looking so nice and thing, and no bra, she had it back hot, and she national hero, you know. Nobody else knew that until then. So, but if you're gonna do something, Maxine, you have to do the medal. You get a medal. That a boss always win because you're gonna get met overnight. That is what this country has come to. Policy on the trot. The purpose to get up and belt out something, and that is not how you run a country.
Marcia, I just want to say something because again, it the state of affairs. I mean, it makes you wonder. This would not have been public knowledge, but for 10 years, I chaired the National Honors Committee, um, and that is where independence honors and so on are given. And there is a clear process. First of all, the committee has representatives of the government and myself, for example, as chair. You have other citizens, retired politicians on both sides of the political divide into two major political parties, public officers, and so on. But there was a timetable by which you announced, the plan to, well, or soliciting nominations and so on. There's a process you go through because when Kazo mentioned the medal, even the process of ordering those medals, there's a time frame that goes in. So in other words, those things are done in a way that come November, you are in a position to announce those things and all that goes with it, is in place. So if what I'm hearing is true that you had to borrow a medal, that to me really is a sad
But
situation.
but listen, if they're going to look, if I mean, I don't know what she's doing overseas because we can't judge that because we live here. She spends more time, it seems, or lots of quality time overseas. But if this is the kind of thing that is happening in Barbados, a simple thing as $100 to every child who's going to school, and they're still trying to figure it out. The children in school already, and it's still everything that they do. Up to me, and my honest opinion, I wish her all the best. Congratulations to Miss Motley. Please go. Please go and take your incompetence somewhere else. Take it somewhere else and give us a chance to run the country. Let the right people that love the country and care about Barbados really dig in, roll up their sleeves like what Barrow did and all of our other prime ministers. What they did, those were real prime ministers, Miss McLean. You guys, you might be too good, whatever to say, but those were real prime ministers. They worked in this country. They weren't taking a plane every other week campaigning. campaigning to become something else out of their country. She's a sitting prime minister, as you've just said. So if all of these bleeps and these blunders and every single thing they have done has to be redone, lady, go, please, go, get out of here, go about your business. I'm tired. That's how I feel about it.
No,
Yeah.
my concern. Sorry, go ahead, Caswell.
No, I was just going to say that if she needs a contribution to get over here, I would put in a couple of dollars just to get her going. You know, I would put in a few dollars just to get over here because she is doing nothing to benefit this country. Everything that she has done so far is to benefit her. We or some people in the international community, and she's and the people know that she's so silly that she has volunteered Barbados for experimental purposes. You remember the first country in the world to use the AstraZeneca jab from India was Barbados. We were the first. Why were we so specially awarded? What was so great about Barbados that we get the first chance? You know who's get the first chance all the time? The guinea pig. That's who's getting the first chance, the guinea pig. She went out there and let people, and she's so gullible to let people trick her and give her this nonsense and want experiment for me. I'm a hypochondriac myself, so if I time I get a vaccine, something wrong with me. So I don't want none.
You mean that injection? That's why we say, go ahead, please. We congratulations if they see what they see in you, obviously, because you spend a lot of time there, so they probably know you more than we do. But we are right now, everything is going bad in our country. The country is not the same country. Something is wrong. Yeah, go ahead, Miss McLean.
I wanted to respond to something that was said about lobbying, but I'm just going to respond to what you have here. Mia Motley could go to France. I realized that she was very much involved in France with President Macron of France. And I know that France was very much involved. They had the Paris Accord in terms of climate change. But what I find interesting, and if I really would like to know what is the Prime Minister's position, or if you're angling for a job as Secretary General, these are issues you will have to confront. The French have a very bad record when it comes to its track records in relation to its former colonies. And in fact, if you look at what's happening in West Africa right now, Niger, for example, has decided that they had a military coup. And of course, we worry about coups. But one of the things that I observed when I looked at what was happening in Niger was that day after day, you saw images of the citizens of Niger out there supporting the coup and the leaders of the coup and calling for the French to withdraw. I mean, Macron was so bold as to say, look, we ain't leaving. My ambassador is not leaving. They had to change that. Now he's saying we will not recognize. But if you notice, there was a coup in Mali, former French colony, a coup in there was Senegal, there are issues there.
Gabon.
In Gabon, in Burkina Faso, and so on, because the French have been horrible, and it isn't past tense. They are very much still present. In fact, there was a whole struggle to free the central banks and the currencies of this country because these people had to hold their foreign exchange. In fact, some people say that France will become a so-called third world country very quickly if it has, when it loses grip on the control of those economies. Because, for example, I mean, the prices they pay to the people for uranium, I think it's uranium.
Uranium for Niger, the thing is $8 a kilo, as opposed to the 200
euros or what, and so on. So that kind of exploitation has been happening, and you have the people of those former francophone colonies reacting and calling for change. And it would be interesting to hear, because I was happy to see the Prime Minister of Barbados move the needle, so to speak, along in relation to to formalizing relations with a number of African countries. We've opened embassies in Ghana and Kenya. We have an honorary consul who I'm happy to say I recommended for appointment in Rwanda, and who has been busy back and forth in Barbados doing a number of things. He himself is a young entrepreneur who is in the business of mining one of these minerals that you use in cell phones. And so I'm happy to see a young man like him seeking to control critical parts of their economy. So when we talk about these things, we need to look at them all together, in terms of that. So for me, there are a couple of things. One, looking externally, I want to be comfortable that our prime minister, while we are hearing of certain critical policies, these things will be followed through. Because at the end of the day, when those five permanent members of the Security Council sit down to deliberate, I don't think that the Russians will want somebody who is pushing something that is diametrically opposed to what they stand for. And so, it isn't, it makes me uncomfortable to the extent that you ask yourself, to what extent, and this is my way of putting it, not diplomatic language, will you be beholden to those persons who support you? And especially a country as small as Barbados, what are we promising? I mean, Sweden will come and say to countries across South America, Central America, Asia, and so on, developing countries, we will provide you with this kind of developmental support, markets, whatever the case may be. But what is it that a small country like us offers? Yes, we have heard a lot of powerful speeches made on issues that we have long subscribed to as Barbados and small island developing states, as members of CARICOM, etc. These are not new issues. We know that the prime minister has mastered the art of public speaking, and that is great, and it makes you feel good when you sit down and listen. But beyond speaking, what are you demonstrating back here to make us comfortable that you have delivered domestically before you seek to deliver globally? That's my big concern. There's one
Maxine,
question. Sorry, go
you,
ahead,
you,
Caswell.
you recall when she was speaking in France and the French people were booing Macron. The most undiplomatic thing for a candidate for the United Nations General Secretary or Secretary General to say was that Macron is the only one of the G7. You remember that? You remember that? When I heard that, the only one of the G7 that supports the agenda for global warming, and I said,
Which
but
is not true.
but I know it
Which
isn't
is
true.
not
You know,
true.
but she's never. That's her default position. She always defaults to that. But you imagine now the other people in G7 can say, "Well, what she said." You know, she's making me look foolish. You cannot go out there and alienate the other G7 because you want to push Macron. You can't be seeking their support because look to the G7 and look at the people in the Security Council.
Well, that is true. There are a couple of things that are coming up here. One of them has to do. Somebody was talking about lobbying and traveling. It is interesting that a long-held tradition of certainly the prime minister traveling and so on. We do not know when the prime minister leaves Barbados anymore, as a rule. Um, and I remember, and it sticks in my mind because prime minister, when she was leader of the opposition, made heavy weather of this. It was a climate conference in trying to remember which country it was now. Was it Fiji? Not Fiji. It was in the Pacific, and the cabinet paper, as was the tendency of the prime minister, to speak about these things that fell off trucks and so on. The cabinet paper and the cost of that trip was leaked. It was put out there. I mean, I don't see it's any secret. I mean, if people the information was shared, but it was put out there, and a song and dance was made about the cost of this. Now, this is the same climate issue that the prime minister has been trumpeting, because it didn't start. This thing started back in the 90s when we had the first, in terms of Barbados's recognition and whatever, goes back to 1994 with Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford when he was prime minister. But I don't want to take us all back there in terms of the reaction and the fun that was made of him and whatever. But of course, they lauded him, and the very thing they made fun of, they were the praise at his funeral service. But that's another story for another time. So my thinking is that the whole, there's so many contradictions. We hear of transparency and good governance, and but then we hear that the prime minister is not here, and then somebody said to me tonight, ask me questions about who travels with the prime minister outside of the normal public officials that travel. Is there any truth to the fact that there's usually a large contingent of non-public officers? Now, there can be as many people as possible.
Stop trying to be so diplomatic. Yard fouls.
Okay. And the question is, who pay for them? That was the question that was posed to me, and I said I don't know, but that and that may very well be the case. Now, those are the questions, and it would be interesting to have some feedback on that, because at the end of the day, these are costs, and what is their function? I mean, they may be on special missions. I mean, if in fact it is true that you have close relatives traveling with you on every occasion, I don't know. I'm just repeating what somebody asked me. I'm asking the question: is it true? That you have close relatives traveling with you on every occasion, which I find hard to believe. But well, it may be hard to believe it. I will never say never. So these are the kinds of things. So there's this opaqueness rather than transparency around some of these issues, and who is paying for that is a very important question. What is the actual cost? Another thing that I heard, and I don't know if it's true, I don't go to Grantley Adams Airport to see who leaves and what they leave on. But and as I told the person raised the issue of whether it is standard now to travel on private jet or commercial aircraft. I told the person, if it is cost effective to do one over the other, then you do the most cost effective. But again, these are questions, and so you only will speculation will flourish when there's no information.
I am going to disagree with you here a little bit. I don't care how cost effective it is. If you are traveling on the aircraft, belongs to people who give tenders, who tender for government business.
Okay, that's another issue, an important issue. Okay, go ahead.
The aircraft, it looks bad. It might have been the best thing, but it don't look so. And it is not what actually happened, but what it looks like. What happened? It looks corrupt. If it looks corrupt, trust me, avoid it. You remember she was alone this plane?
Yes.
What's she doing there? Mind you, this was the same Maloney when he was getting contracts under the last administration. She lambasted him. You might not remember them things, but I do.
I remember, and I smile because you can say whatever, but what was that? What was that other than some words?
And then the other thing, to a person, the only thing he's ever imported before was cement, and you switch from cement into jobs. Something has to be wrong there. It looks wrong.
Well, a lot was wrong because it is a whole messy affair. Is in court in the U.S. and whatever else.
But it looks wrong. And the thing is, you were getting them for have a lot more money than they were available if the government had gone themselves. All of these things, and you get a letter from the permanent secretary and the minister of health. When he first heard about it, because the news got leaked, You know, these things fall off of trucks. And I got one of these big scoops. I went in where I was trying to just wreck them up. But when he Roberts today confronted him, he said, "Oh, that is nonsense. It's rubbish," because he didn't even know that his permanent secretary was writing letters for this man to source this product. He was shamed when he found out. And I remember in the Senate, I said, "Look, either the minister or the permanent secretary needs to go, because you are Minister Maxine, and you know very well that even though it might be the permanent secretary is called, the permanent secretary can still make you aware of what the permanent secretary is doing. You are not going to see the minister unaware of something, especially as financially, I don't know what to put it, something that is so expensive and so important like vaccines for the people of this country. And the PS, they know about it, and the minister don't know anything about it. So something was wrong. And I said, but look, if the minister don't know, and I take his word that he did not know, after all, he's a common Marian, and we take, you know it is. So he said he did not know. If it happened, it isn't true. Then it turned to be true, then he should go because he knows going on his ministry, or he should seek to get rid of the permanent secretary because she went above his head or went behind his back. And if she didn't go behind his back, the only body that could have given her an instruction would be somebody senior to the minister. But there was only one body senior to the minister in Barbados. So all of these things need answers, and nobody answered me yet, you know.
Correct.
I still want the answers, because next thing you know, we begin injected with we call it rock hard.
Somebody says Mr. Franklin should go to the front of the class. He's spot on. But there was something had me here laughing. Sharon Daniel said when she goes on one trip, she comes up home and she asks herself, where can I go next?
It would appear so. But
we're laughing, but it's not funny. But
she comes in, and to let people know she's still in Barbados, she was a press conference. And talk all kind of rubbish.
And hugs it. She holds a press conference and asks all the questions, answers all the questions, hugs the whole platform.
but that is the strategy, you know. I remember years ago when Tom Adams was Prime Minister, a reporter asked Tom Adams a question. And Tom says, that's a very good question. But what you need to ask is this. And Tom then posed the question and then answered his own question. So she doesn't have the finesse like Tom Adams, but that's what she's trying to do. Tom said, no, that's a very good question. But what you need to ask is this. Ask the question, poor reporter. Reporter.
Mr. Franklin, invite the people out tomorrow, please. We'll talk to the people. Talk to the people about tomorrow.
Yeah, I need to do that. I was going to save it for the last, but as you invite me, the last coming up here, match. I didn't realize I'm having so much fun. I didn't realize that the last coming up. Today I was the speaker at the Astor Watts Memorial Lecture, and I asked the people to join us. That's a fairly good crowd. And they told me that it was very well received, so I took their word for that too. I believe them.
And there's usually online presence too, so more than you see in front of you.
Right? And I asked them, like I'm asking you now, come out and support this march. Nobody that you see here on the screen is going to benefit from it. As a matter of fact, it has actually cost us financially to get these marches going. All right, so we are not benefiting. We are doing this for the good of this country. We are not seeking to become a minister of anything. We don't even want to be deputy speaker and answer of the house. Mind you, I can read, so I don't think it would be. So I'm not looking for anything like that at all. What we are actually trying to do is to open the eyes of the people of this country and point and let the ministers and the prime minister especially see that we are not all fools and that we know when we're being tricked. Do not be afraid to come out. They cannot victimize everybody. The bigger the crowd, the more difficult to victimize anybody at all. We need you to protect yourselves. Because if she gets away with this one, your goose cook, she will get away with everything else. You are coming out in your own interest. This is self-preservation. If you do not look out for your own best interest, we have children. Look out for theirs. If you're not worried about your own interest, look out for your children's interest, because this will come back to haunt your children. And when you see people who are so self-serving, I had mentioned it today, and people were surprised that the pension arrangements for the public service have changed. You're no longer going to be working 33 and 30 years to get a maximum pension. You have to work 40 years.
40 years.
40 years now. But they kept theirs at 12. These are too self-serving. And she's saying, we are in this together. No. They're out there by themselves. And they got we out here. When we are together, we should be on the same roof. We are not. This country is for the benefit of all of us, not just the select few that they employ and that they have before the house. So please, come out, march with us, let the government see, and get your picture taken by the drone, because they have the drones over there. I was posing all the time. March, remember, we had the drones. They followed us all through town with the drone.
Wow.
I don't know if they're going to intimidate us. They can't victimize everybody. Please, in your own best interest, come out and support the march. It is for you. It isn't for anybody on the screen.
Yeah. Miss McLean, what are your thoughts about marches? You have served in government. I know Caswell and yourself serving government for many years. Caswell a lot with the union, and he was in the Senate as you were, etc. What do you see any benefit in marches? Why should people come out to the march?
Yeah, well, let me first of all tell you, you're not going to see me tomorrow because I'll be in Queen's Park with the presentations by young youth in Barbados to the Parliamentary Reform Commission. But in terms of marches, I think the important thing about this march is what I call it. It is something that was organic. It was a genuine response to the issues that Barbadians are facing. I can tell you that when I was in part of the Thompson and Stewart administrations, nobody but her Prime Minister herself was very involved in marches. And when you reflect on it, it was almost as though there was a very different feel to those marches. Somehow we saw a set of forces coming together on issues really and truly that didn't reflect the kinds of things that you're seeing reflected now. Because at the end of the day, what we are really seeing is a situation where decisions are being made, what should I call it? Almost, what's the word I want?
Unilaterally
and very surreptitiously, I mean, take the National Insurance, take the Barbados Water Authority Amendment Bill. These things are coming. You're not seeing them in the press where there's information up front telling the public we are going to be debating this down the road. They're not meeting. They're coming to the House on days that are not traditionally the days that are met. They're coming when they're short. They put on the paper at short notice, and there is little or no time for public scrutiny. So my concern is that, and in addition to that, you are talking about a situation where there is an absence of a formal opposition, and therefore the people have to take their issues on board themselves in a way that they did not have to do when you saw clear opposition and opportunity for debate. I think it was Caswell who made the point that you don't get debates in Parliament anymore. in fact, I would say something that I said before on this program. Go and listen to any debate on any important people. All legislation, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes before Parliament, is important because it's going to impact our lives in some way or the other. Go back and listen to debates from 2018 till now, and look and see on average how many of those 30, well, it wouldn't be 30 because the speaker would not speak, but the other MPs, how many of those people speak on bills that come before. So go and look, and in fact, as constituents, go and look and see. Just follow your own MP, and look and see how many times he or she speaks to matters that are before Parliament, and then you would realize that a lot of things come, and there is little or no debate. So people don't get a chance to understand what those issues are. And it is only through a forum like this, for example, that we are getting a lot of these things fleshed out. It is only through going and marching, whether you were taught, you had a list of the issues, Marcy. I think there's a running list now that you that you have of these issues, that people are getting a chance to go and say, hey, talk to me about this, or go and research it themselves, or speak to other, other people. And they're able then to go in their workplaces or whatever, or you go to march and you hear a person speak on an issue, because at the end of the day, the main structure, which is the forum, which is Parliament, whether it's the House or the Senate. Well, the Senate is better off because you had independent senators. Of course, the meets Caswell, but we have Caswell in the online Senate, as I will call it now. In this forum, but the challenge is that people are operating in the dark in most instances, and it is by marching and speaking to specific issues. You're saying to the government, to the Prime Minister, look, we are sufficiently concerned about these issues that we will go out there week after week. And in fact, we're not only going out there to speak of things that we started to speak of, but we realize that as we go forward on a weekly basis, matters are unfolding in a way that reflects the same level of confusion, inefficiency, wheel and come again, because it one step forward, two step back, because it hasn't been properly thought out. It was done on the fly. You have a piece of legislation, when you look at the drafting of it, it is not typical of the standard to which we have been accustomed over the years. So people have genuine cause to say, look, we want you to realize that these matters are bothering us. And one of the ways, a critical way to do it, is to see us on the road speaking to those things. Because, I think there are marches and there are reasons for marches. And I think that this is, to my mind, when I look at what is happening, that is why people are persisting. Because if y'all were just being nuisances, you wouldn't have people turn up week after week. You would not be able to, we wouldn't find ourselves, people donating and saying, look, we believe that this is an important cause, and you would be out there afterwards and say, well, I can't afford this. Because it would have been
we wouldn't need to think, but people are coming. But Ms. McLean, we have a song that was a jingle that was put together, and we want to play that now.
Sure.
So if we can get that played, why people are making plans. You're making plans to be there tomorrow. We are marching tomorrow. Can we hit that song right now? The jingle. Let's hit the jingle. Okay, we're having some challenges there. No, okay, let me play it. I can play it. Okay, so let me go ahead and find it and play it.
Right.
Because we're having some challenges there. Okay. But let me march.
Barbados. Time for people get up and make a organize.
Time to wake up.
Now them come from country and town. Kick down Jericho wall.
Opposition fall in line.
Politicians run and ball. One by one, brick by brick, they crumble and fall. At the voice of the Almighty, and the trumpet call. Lies and corruption at this administration. Lies and corruption, beer abomination. Lies and corruption, poverty and frustration. Lies and corruption, mashing up the nation. Lies and corruption at this administration. Lies and corruption, beer abomination. Lies and corruption, poverty and frustration. Lies and corruption, mashing up the nation. Vaccine scam, can't left a memory. Trident ID won't be mandatory. So you pin it, change them up on the elderly. Beg with your vote, then treat you like enemy. Let we march, let we march, let we march.
Listen, it's so good. It's so good. We gotta play that again. Miss McLean, I saw you moving. I saw you moving. Don't even hide it. You were moving.
You play it again and move again.
Listen, you remember the president when the thing and she was dancing in her chair? Listen, I saw Caswell bobbing the head too. I saw it happening.
Let we march, let we march, let we march. Barbados! Time for people get up and make a bargain. Time to wake up. Now them come from country and town. Kick down Jericho wall. Opposition fall in line. Politicians run and ball. One by one, brick by brick, they crumble and fall. At the voice of the Almighty, and the trumpet call. Lies and corruption at this administration. Lies and corruption, beer abomination. Lies and corruption, poverty and frustration. Lies and corruption, mashing up the nation. Lies and corruption at this administration. Lies and corruption, beer abomination. Lies and corruption, poverty and frustration. Lies and corruption, mashing up the nation. Vaccine scam, can't left a memory. Trident ID won't be mandatory. So you pin it, change them up on the elderly. Beg with your vote, then treat you like enemy. Let we march, let we march, let we march.
Let we march, let we march, let we march, let we march all the way down Broad Street from Massey Car Park there at Kensington. And we coming all the way down, and we have so much to march for, guys. Tomorrow, don't stay home. Somebody said they love the posters. Yes, many of the issues that we have listed were not addressed. You are so right, Peteway. And tomorrow on the march, we're going to be hopefully being able to address. This whole thing with the UN took us in another direction, and we saw where also we did not, what's his name, could not get back on. Kimar something was wrong with his phone. He needed to charge up again, so he did not get on. We wanted to talk about bra. We didn't touch on so many things. So Mr. Franklin, can we get some of those issues on the road tomorrow?
I think we can, I think we can.
Because Peteway is right. I was thinking the same way. I had my phone here looking at everything, but it was going in another direction, Peteway. So, we're going to be on again Sunday. But Peteway, if you're in Barbados, please come out to the march tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Right, 10 o'clock. Get your umbrellas, your water, your folding chairs, and your strong voice, right? Yes. Make sure you come out, start drinking your water from today. That's what the police told me, right? We have our permits. Everything is done in order, right? Done in order. We always have our permits. The police is supporting us. Even for next week, Mr. Franklin, where we're going to have the opposition speaks. We will have that on the road. We're going on the road. And that is going to be a corner of Baxter's Roads and Westbury Road, right? That's where we're going to be at Westburn Mall. And even for that, the deputy commissioner and myself, we spoke today. They're organizing that for us. Everything we do in decency and order, following all the laws, right? So we want you to come out tomorrow. Don't worry about anything. The police is there to protect us. They, as I tell them, you are our friends. You are there to protect us. And let me tell you, a lot of them happy we are out there. I can tell you that, right?
They're going to be pensioners too, you know. And
That
they're
is
going to work the
true.
68 too, you know. These people don't think. You know, you imagine, I spoke about it, and I will speak about it all the time. You are asking policemen to work to 68. You can imagine seeing a policeman down the road running up behind a little 25-year-old fella trying to catch him because he just breaking somebody else. He will never catch him. Firemen coming down on ladders with a fellow over his shoulder, arthritis hitting in the knee. You know, everybody coming down one time, you know. You know, nurses at the hospital, you have
That's
to
true.
bend over and turn patients because when patients they can't help themselves, the nurses got to turn them. And a lot of them so far, there are over 100 nurses in the hospital that are injured from work-related injuries, right? And then you can ask them, no, they are currently no injured and can't do full nursing duties. And you can ask them to work to 68. Yeah, if you're a legislator and you're going to go to parliament and sit down and talk rot, you can sit and talk at 90 because at 90 you're gonna be seen and these people is sure that they're seen a lot, you know. So you really don't need you don't need any physical strength or anything. You just need a mouth. And those people just going there and sometimes you just need a seat because they just sit down there and warm them. Because Maxine was making a point just now that you don't hear them, you don't know what they're saying, and you can't even recognize their voice because their voices are so far between. You can't say, well, like for instance, I hear Maxine voice, but I know that's Maxine, you know. But then you hear them, you can't tell what it is. You gotta go and look. That's the
True.
problem. You
It's
know,
true.
and let me tell you something. Another point you made, Maxine, where you said, you know, the country don't know about the bills. The Senate don't know about them either.
That
Because
is true.
the National Insurance Bill, Amendment Bill 2023, they passed it in the House on the Friday evening. It was supposed then to go to the Senate on the Wednesday, scheduled for debate on the Wednesday. But that was Friday. Saturday, Sunday, 2 off days. Monday and Tuesday were bank holidays. So the next first working day would have been the Wednesday. And the Senate, well, thanks to Marcia, must always remember, we spoke on Marcia Week show, and then the Senate had to pull back and
Yep.
get somebody to explain the bill to them. They were going to
That
pass
is
it.
true.
That is how that we don't have an opposition, official opposition, and the government don't care. They don't care to explain anything to you because they're not forced to respond to opposition. Not that they would respond to opposition if everyone was there, because they got the numbers, but they just go out there, do their own thing, and like it or not, they can do it. So that is why we got to march. That's why we got to come out and march, because we got to let them see that we are not happy with their behavior.
Correct. Somebody says photos, photos, photos for Mia and those of us who are over and away. The people are something else. So tomorrow, guys, tomorrow, come out. Numbers matter. They matter. The march. Kamari saying march, and here, I had the list here, and I want to go through. There's so many things that we didn't get to touch tonight, but I'm going to ask the speakers and Caswell as well to make sure that we cover some of these topics, because on the road with our marches, it's not just song and dance, but we're educating as we go. That's the way we do our marches. They're very, very strong on education. So what I didn't cover tonight, and you are so correct, because it was bothering me. I hate to put out something and we didn't do it, right? But the way how tonight went, with the tourism failure, Miss McLean was supposed to have been dealing with that tonight. She was
But
going to, but we changed. I pull you in another direction. The QEH woes, child protection bill, corruption, the selling of the water, absentee PM. We did that a lot. The
but
Auditor General report. Yes, 1 second. NIS and pension, injustices to government workers, the Trident ID, transparency and accountability, MOE. Look at the $100 things we just did with that. The selling of Bridgetown at the East Coast, being covered
And,
in debt.
yeah,
All so many
and
things.
renting $800 an hour for a tractor to push back the garbage at the landfill, and the minister come and talking about you can't get parts. You can't get parts. The parts are the parts in Wildy. The parts are already in Wildy, and they are not giving the mechanics. When the mechanic ask for parts to transfer him, so he can't get a chance to fix the government tractors. So you can $800 an hour for 40 hours a week. And,
yes.
And then you go and you take some person and don't fix the tractor or don't buy a new engine for the tractor. The tractor car engine costs $250,000. And you are asking an employee from the company that should be fixing it to come and do it on the slide for you for only $230,000.
Listen, but listen, we are gonna. I want, but Mr. Franklin going to tell it as it is tomorrow. That's what you see is what you get with Mr. Franklin. Come out tomorrow, you will hear much more. Maxine, you were saying something real quick.
I was just going to say to the person, when I listened to the list, you realize that you are almost accumulating issue after issue after issue, because you've touched on some of these. I mean, because it just shows you the sheer magnitude of the things that are going wrong or that are problematic that need to be, because you talk about the hospital, but then you can come back to that again. We talked about tourism, and I remember that I was talking about Virgin Atlantic, and then somebody pointed out to me after the show, but yes, they're continuing to come in, but realize that what has happened, they have started using smaller planes. And then the other thing is they're smaller planes with lesser seats, but then they're also splitting the seats between Barbados and St. Vincent and Barbados and Grenada or somebody else. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that you can go back and revisit, but it is also a fact that you have to add on these new things as they become evident. So, you know, it's a running list.
It's a running thing. But Barbara, we take your comments seriously. And I was trying to bring it in, but listen, this whole thing is centered around the PM really, and so we were dealing with that tonight, Barbara. But trust me, God willing, on Sunday we're back on track. And also come out to the march, Barbara. If you're in Barbados, come to the march. We will have speakers dealing with the different issues. It's 2 hours that we have on the road, and we have several speakers. They go up on the truck and we talk about the issues. All right. So see you tomorrow. God bless you, Barbara, Marietta, everybody. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Caswell, for coming on. I saw you there eating your dinner in the green room. It's not easy, guys. It's a sacrifice. Miss McLean rushing home to try to get on. And the same thing with with Kimar. You know, Lynette has not been here because she said that she has classes. Lynette has classes, and she wrote me and said that as soon as her classes, she's gotten adjusted to the schedule, she will be right back on. And she was at her last march. I'm really hoping that she could make it tomorrow. We always love to hear Lynette. Okay, so guys, God bless you all, and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.